Live transcript has been enabled.
So we are live. Good evening. Welcome to the Select Board meeting for October 18th, 2022. I have a few news and announcements that I'd like to share, and then I will turn to the other Select Board members for any news or comments they would like to make. First, a little housekeeping. The lodging house transfer from Roger Becker doing business as the Longwood Inn to, is it Moish or Moish Sports doing business as the Longwood Inn at 123 Longwood Ave, which was publicly noticed for tonight, is moved to October 25th at 7:20 p.m. due to a conflict with the Jewish holiday. Transfer of an all alcohol license and alternative manager for Sunset Cantina, which was publicly noticed for tonight, is also moved to November 1st. The Economic Development Division, in partnership with the Brookline Arts Center, BAC, is hosting a community engagement event on Thursday, November 3rd, 2022, from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Beacon Street Art Gallery, located at 1351 Beacon Street in Coolidge Corner, to kick off the ARPA-funded commercial areas public art and placemaking initiative. Members of the Brookline community are encouraged to attend and learn about the ARPA-funded commercial areas public art and placemaking initiative, recently rebranded Brookline Art Makes Community, and contribute input on preferred types of public art, murals, sculptures, lighting installations, as well as potential locations for public art installations. Finally, on Friday, we released an investigative report regarding the recent allegations about former Chief Gonzalez. There was one page that was overly redacted, especially towards the end, that has since been updated. You can find the updated version on our website. One of the alleged policy violations that was overly redacted and not sustained was a finding regarding Deputy Superintendent Paul Cullinane, one of the police officers involved. I do apologize for these inadvertent actions by the town. Any select board members that would like to make a comment? Miriam?
Seems like good to follow up on what Chair Hamilton has just said. As many of you know by now, this week, the select board met and discharged our chief of police for sexual harassment. So the select board has received some lines of inquiry and criticism for releasing the redacted report of the investigation. I want to address those comments. Discrimination and sexual harassment in particular thrive in darkness like fungus. The silence, suppression, and shame we associate with sexual harassment not only allows it to continue, but encourages it. I, for one, am proud that this town does not allow for non-disclosure agreements. I, for one, am proud that the select board took the step to shine a light on what happened here. Instead of silence, we chose sharing. Instead of suppression, we chose to shed light. Instead of shame, we chose to recognize the courage of those that stood up, spoke up, and led the way. Thank you to them. Thank you to my colleagues on the select board. Thank you.
Any other news announcements, comments? John?
I've got one if no one else does. I want to thank our chair for the statement she made on the redacted report, because in case people kind of miss the significance of this, because of what she correctly referred to as an over redaction, there were not just individuals who felt as though their reputation was at stake, but it had repercussions in their families, as you can well imagine. And I want to thank those who came forward to point out this issue. And I want to thank the town staff, and I want to thank our chair for recognizing that it's never too late to correct something. And this correction was more than warranted, and I'm glad it was made tonight. That being said, there's a couple of things I just want to point to that I think were wonderful events for the town, and then one event that's coming up that I think is a very substantive one that I hope a lot of people will pay attention to. The wonderful events were the Dog Day, which we thank the Rotary for that, but also all of the people who participated in co-sponsoring it. That was a lot of fun. That was at Downsfield on Sunday, excuse me. And the Saturday, just the day before that, there was the dedication or the opening to the public of the playground at Cypress. And I turned out just to grab a picture or two. And it was just wonderful to see how many kids were there. So on Sunday, we had dogs in costumes. On Saturday, we had kids in costumes. We also had some folks, Aaron Galantine, our Director of Public Works in particular, who were there to kind of mark the occasion, because these things don't happen just by accident. They happen because of a lot of work and a lot of time put in by people, frankly, over years. And Cypress Playground is the realization of the work and the input of a lot of people who made sure that it got done right. And it's great to see things done right. And it's great to see when things are done right, the community responds. And they sure did on Saturday. So the upcoming event, which is tomorrow, which I hope people will, as I said, pay close attention to, and if appropriate, if this is something that people really want to have input on, this is the time to do it. And that is the 10 Brookline Place Committee, which has been looking at the site in Brookline Village, which is currently a building that contains a lot of operations of Dana-Farber, and was formerly the what was it called? Artists International, I think it was. That was the name of the company that ran it or that occupied it previously. That site is of special interest to Brookline right now because a developer has a plan for a significant development there, which I think could be of great benefit to the town, but it would also be one that requires a lot of careful thought. So the 10 Brookline Place Committee and town staff are inviting the public to attend something tomorrow night. It's at 6 to 8. And it does involve, if people choose to do so, participating in person. So this is 6 to 8 right here at Town Hall, room 103. If you want to sort of be in on the latest news from the 10 Brookline Place Development Committee, attend the meeting, and you can also offer your thoughts and your input to the folks who are working on this. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Mike?
Yeah, just a quick update on the athletic field surface task force. We made a provision in our agendas for a public comment period, and we'd welcome people to join us. The next meeting is 9 o'clock on Friday, the 28th of October. That will be posted on the town calendar as soon as I sent it in properly with a complete agenda. And at the same time, we'll have the beginnings of the report that we're preparing for hopefully inclusion in the combined reports that will go out to town meeting members.
Great. Thank you very much, Mike. Any other comments before we move into public comment? Seeing none, take it away, John.
All right, public comment. It's an opportunity for us to hear your perspective on the issues in Brookline that matter to you. Few rules. Each person speaking tonight is limited to 3 minutes. Don't need to use the entire time, but you may if you like. Please refrain from personal attacks and from addressing personnel issues. And members of the public sometimes raise questions during public comment. We may be able to provide a quick answer to a question, but are more likely to work with staff to get a more thorough answer and respond over email. We'll let you know when you have 30 seconds remaining and when your time is up. Please conclude, conclude your remarks at that time. And Devin, who's first on the list?
The first person signed up for public comment is Linda Roseman. You've been promoted to a panelist. You can unmute and your 3 minutes will begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Devin, and good evening, everyone. Linda Roseman, town meeting member, precinct 14, and I recently stepped down as chair of the Police Commissioners Advisory Committee. On Friday morning, the Select Board voted unanimously to terminate Ashley Gonzalez as Chief of Police. Within an hour or two, the town sent out a press release via the Brookline Town News portal, which included a link to the complete transcript of the interviews with the complainants. I was deeply disturbed by the decision to disseminate the interview transcripts to the entire community, which, although redacted, are pretty transparent. The women who came forward did so with a great deal of trepidation, and it took a lot of courage to finally do so. They had no idea that the transcripts were going to be part of a press release. Exposing them in this way compounds the harm they have already experienced and victimizes them further. I can only imagine how shocking and upsetting it was to see themselves portrayed to the entire community at their most vulnerable. To claim this was done in the interest of transparency is not a compelling argument for this decision, and I believe these women are owed an apology. Thank you.
The next person signed up for public comment is Annabelle Lane. Your 3 minutes will begin when you're ready.
Thank you. My name is Annabelle Lane. I work in the Brookline Police Department as a full-time social worker. As a female employee of the department and a town employee generally, I'm deeply disturbed by the way the entire situation with former Chief Gonzalez has been handled. I'm not an expert in public records law, but I do know trauma, and I think anyone with a shred of empathy and awareness would realize that having the intimate details of sexual harassment spread far and wide to every major news network in the greater Boston area is a massive violation and re-traumatization. There had to have been a better way. I don't know if this was malicious or just careless, but it's equally damaging either way. The message this sends to all town employees, especially those of a protected class, is that if anything happens, the leadership of the town cannot be trusted to maintain confidentiality and protect basic dignity. I'm speaking tonight because I'm worried about what happens going forward. There's been zero communication from the town about next steps for department leadership. We have an amazing acting chief and chief pastor who's been a dedicated, forward-thinking, strong, and empathetic leader in the department and in the community for years. I can tell you from within the department that in the past month, she's created the only shred of optimism we've had in maybe 2 years. But the select board and particularly the chair have been actively undermining her. In case people aren't aware, we're down, she's functioning with less than half of a command staff. The chief needs an effective command staff around her who she can trust, and the select board has been actively blocking her from building this team. I was told by the chair of the select board that because of Chief Gonzalez's failures, she's going to restrict Chief Pastor. How does this make any sense? It's in the select board's power to either support Chief Pastor and allow her to succeed as chief or set her up for failure. In response to these concerns, Heather Hamilton told me that Jen needs to, quote, put on her big girl pants and essentially be a figurehead with no actual authority. The immense hypocrisy of this, especially given the larger context of sexual harassment from the previous chief, is difficult to put into words. Over the past 5 years I've worked for the police department, I've watched town leadership systematically dismantle life-saving public safety services upon which residents rely through a combination of ineptitude, lack of understanding, and in this case, active discrimination. A few months ago, the select board expressed support for the department bringing on another clinician. How in good conscience am I supposed to advocate for a colleague in my field to work in this climate?
You have 30 seconds.
The town has not supported stable ethical leadership for the department and has just sent a clear message that if you're a victim of harassment, the town is ready and willing to release the intimate details of those experiences to the world. How can this be how the town of Brookline is run? Where are the adults in the room? Thank you.
The next person signed up for public comment is Deborah Brown. You've been promoted to a panelist. You can unmute and your 3 minutes will begin.
Thank you. My name's Deborah Brown. I'm the board president for the Brookline Improvement Coalition, although we are changing the name to the Brookline Community Development Corporation. It seems to be a little bit more understandable for most folks. I wanted to talk quickly about 2 points. One's the ARPA money. It's taken too long. You know, I know that some of you are trying hard. And I don't know how we get to yes, but I just want you to know that, you know, the delays could seriously adversely impact some of the awardees. So I just wanted to get that out there. The other thing that I wanted to comment on is the I know we're not supposed to talk about personnel action, but the Ashley Gonzalez case. And what I wanted to say was, y'all move swiftly. And I hear the victimization, the breach of confidentiality, and clearly there are lessons to be learned. But I think one lesson that perhaps we learned from the Gerald Alston case is that by moving swiftly, we probably save a whole lot of people a lot of wear and tear. And I do think that it sends a message to the workforce and to the community that if people come in with credible claims, that the select board and the town administration will listen carefully. So I just wanted to say thank you for doing that. That's it. Thank you.
At this time, there are 36 attendees.
Hi, Devin. I didn't hear you say my name, but you promoted me. Am I?
Hi, Carolyn. Can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can
Yeah.
hear you. If you could speak directly into your microphone, you've been promoted to a panelist. You can
Okay.
unmute and share your video. If you're comfortable, and your 3 minutes will begin.
Thanks. I'm sorry I lost you there. Can you hear me okay now, Devin?
We can.
Okay, thanks. Hi, thanks everybody for being here. I just wanted to sort of do a quick little plug here for an item or regarding an item that's on your agenda tonight. I'm glad to see you're going to be talking about the rodent control action plan. Thank you, Chaz, for moving on that. Just going to do my plug as I do for my folks at Hancock Village. Currently, largest rental property in Brookline, currently with 772 units. I checked that with the assessor today. 250 more coming. So there'll be over 900 rental units in Hancock Village within a couple of years from now. And there is a waste collection problem there and a rat problem. So I know that it's part of the action plan to look at the solid waste regulations. I'm glad that that's part of the plan. They're pretty loose. For example, the regulations say there need to be sufficient containers to contain public waste, but doesn't really define what sufficient is. It says owners are responsible for collection. This is for dwelling units, properties with 3 or more dwelling units. So, but the regulations don't define the frequency of collection or really like objective measurable terms, so that the onus becomes on the tenants or on the public to make complaints when there's a problem rather than sort of setting a really measurable objective standard, like you need to have this many collection points this close to people's homes, this size per capita. Location is another problem at Hancock Village. People need to get into a car to get to a collection point often. I don't think that's reasonable. Not everybody has a car. So just as you start to think about this, it probably isn't going to be the select board. But I'm just always, as you know, I think concerned about how
You
the
have 30 seconds.
Yep, thanks. At Hancock Village are treated and what their experience is. There's definitely a problem there, and it's only getting bigger. So as that moves forward, I'll appreciate hearing conversation that addresses large-scale rental properties as well as restaurants. Thanks so much.
At this time, there are 37 attendees. No one is using the hand raise or Q&A feature to indicate they'd like to make a comment.
Chaz.
Thank you. I just wanted to respond to Ms. Roseman and Ms. Lane, because I think it is important and they deserve a response to the concerns that they raised regarding the release of the report, the public records law, and communication in general. Thank you both for those comments, which were heartfelt and seriously considered and brought to life a very real concern about the victims of abuse and harassment. And we take that very seriously. And so thank you for foregrounding those concerns in this conversation. The public records law, as you know, is broad and intentionally so. In the event that we would receive a public records request, as we did already for this report from several different individuals, let's say, for example, the Boston Globe or another large media outlet, the concern that we had there was by releasing the report piecemeal individually to people, by forcing them to appeal a public records denial and going through that process, that what might happen was that the report would take on a life of its own, and the contents of those transcripts would take on a life of their own, and that we would not be in control of how they were released. And such, for example, one of my concerns that I have often stated to people is, again, I'm not assuming good faith on the part of reporters, but if this is treated as an exclusive and it's on the front page of the Metro section of the Boston Globe over a 3-day period of time, a week after the event has happened, or the week after the firing has happened, then we are re-traumatizing victims. We are subjecting them again to the process of their process being dragged through the press. The lurid details are highlighted in the newspaper as opposed to being presented dispassionately in a large report that everyone has access to at the same time. Now, with that said, communication is key. Communicating to people the expectation regarding this and making sure that the comfort and protection of the victims is paramount in dealing with these situations is important to us. As we go through the process of becoming more open and transparent and responsive to press inquiries, we will learn along the way how best to do that. And in these instances, I hear your concerns about these issues, and we will take every step to ensure that we balance the rights and the feelings and the desire of victims to be protected with what is required under the public records law. Thank you both for your comments, which I know are of deep importance, and we will continue to work to get these things right. Thank you.
Thank you, Chaz. Now on to miscellaneous. We have 2 meeting minutes, one from October 6th and one from October 11th to approve. Any comments, edits?
I gave Kate minutes. So.
Okay, was it substantive or more like?
No, it was correcting a vote that.
Pull the microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I don't have a microphone at home. No, it was correcting the vote on the police commissioners at PCAC. I voted abstain, not against. Right. So. Okay.
Thank you, Bernard. So should I move them together or separately? We'll move them together. Okay. So I move approval of the following select board meeting minutes, October 6th, 2022 and October 11th, 2022. All those in favor? Bernard?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Miriam?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. I move approving the following authorization to hire requests within the Department of Public Health and Human Services, epidemiologist, shared services coordinator, regional senior public health specialist. Question of approving the following change order requests. Core number 1 is for conditions at various sealant joints within the limestone at the library. This is work in addition to the specified work and necessary to perform the proper repairs to the building. The cost of the core number 1 is $21,881.64. Core number 2 is the removal of the chimney at the rear of the police station. This chimney has been abandoned and capped in the past. However, it appears that water is still getting between the chimney and building wall and causing cracking of the masonry during weather cycles. The cost of this core number 2 is $23,058.17. Notification that the Massachusetts State Lottery is offering a Keno monitor to existing Keno to-go agents in your city town to display the game at their location. In accordance with Mass General Law 10, Section 27A, as amended, you are hereby notified of the lottery's intent to install a monitor at the following locations, and that is at Gimbel's Liquors at 1637 Beacon Street in Brookline. That is the end of our miscellaneous. All those in favor? Bernard?
Aye. Let me just say that the Keno monitor is basically a sign, and my vote in favor is no indication of whether I think Keno is a good idea.
John?
Aye.
Miriam?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Our regular business calendar. We have a new finance director, hopefully, after we vote officially. Devin, will you promote Lincoln Heineman? Hi, Lincoln.
Hi, good evening.
Yes, we can kind of hear you.
Is it,
Oh,
can you hear me?
yes,
Great.
it's just a little faint on our end. Welcome. Do you want to say a few words? Chaz, did you want to introduce?
Maybe I should introduce.
Okay.
Lincoln, and then we can have. So thank you, Chair. I'm pleased to recommend to all of you the appointment of Lincoln Heineman to the positions of Finance Director and Treasurer Collector of the Town of Brookline. Mr. Heineman is a career public servant who most recently served as the Town Administrator of Whitman, Massachusetts, and he was also previously the Finance Director of Hanover. Now, this process of finding a finance director, even in this tight labor market, I'm pleased to say was swift and thorough, and really a testament to the entire team that worked through this process with us. The search firm we hired, GovHR USA, thank you very much, Mike Gillette, to the the volunteer screening panel, Greg Grubstein, Minnie Coluri, Carlos Rodrigo, and Select Board Member Mike Sandman. Thank you all for your insights. Ultimately, the panel unanimously recommended Mr. Heineman, given the depth of his experience, qualifications, and his excellent interview and I think visionary views on how best to help the town of Brookline in a complex financial time reach its maximum potential, not only to just plot along, but to thrive and be the leader at the forefront of so many different initiatives that it has been. So thank you for your consideration of this. I'll let Lincoln introduce himself as well, but I would just say that pending your approval and the completion of a background check, his start date would be Monday, November 7th.
Great. Couldn't be soon enough.
Yes.
Should we take the vote now?
No, why don't we let him say a few words?
Okay, Lincoln, why don't we hear from you and then I will move to make you official.
Sure. Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and Chaz, thank you very much for that very kind introduction. Good evening. As Chaz said, my name is Lincoln Heineman. Really excited about the opportunity to hopefully join you folks in Brookline. It was really terrific to get to know the members of the interview committee during the process and have a chance to speak with each select board member in a row today. That was really terrific. Really excited about the opportunity to join the town of Brookline, and obviously happy to take any questions, but thank you very much for your consideration.
Excellent. Don't forget that you had a minor in film that I found out about today. Excellent. So any
I'm looking
questions?
forward to maybe utilizing that. Absolutely.
You say that now. So any questions or comments before I move for this to become official? Seeing none, I move approval of the recommendation from the town administrator to appoint Lincoln Heineman as the finance director. All those in favor of approving the conditional offer to Lincoln to serve as the town of Brookline's finance director and treasurer collector, subject to the completion of background check. Bernard.
I enthusiastically, I think that the town administrator and the committee made an excellent choice, and we absolutely need him. Real bad.
John,
Aye.
Miriam,
I'm going to echo what Bernard said. And really very impressed, very impressed.
Mike,
I too think that the committee made an excellent choice. And I was on the committee.
and the chair votes aye. Welcome. We look forward to your start date.
Thank you very much. Really looking forward to working with all of you. Thank you.
Just in time for town meeting.
Didn't know that, did you?
We will see you soon. Okay, next on our agenda are police promotions. We are hearing from Chief Jen Pastor.
Good evening, everybody. Acting Chief Pastor, Brookline Police Department. It is my honor to come before the board tonight to recommend the promotion of Officer Christopher Crapo to the rank of Sergeant. Officer Crapo has been with the Brookline Police Department since 2008, when he signed on to become a public safety dispatcher shortly after graduating from Endicott College, magna cum laude with a degree in criminal justice. He attended the Lowell Police Academy in 2014. He graduated from he graduated with the highest academic score in his class. He was assigned originally to the overnight shift as a patrol officer. He worked in across multiple shifts until 2019, when he was reassigned to the traffic division as a motorcycle officer. When the pandemic struck in 2020, Officer Crapo volunteered to join the COVID-19 task force, and his attention to detail and willingness to work in any capacity to achieve the mission was recognized by many of his peers and his supervisors. I can testify from my own personal experience that Officer Crapo is truly a jack of all trades. He sought out and received training in multiple traffic-related fields, including motorcycle crash investigation, accident reconstruction, and advanced motor vehicle crash investigations from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. He was an integral part of the team that designed and implemented the motorcycle unit training plan, and is always willing to work across department divisions to make sure we are represented at high profile events in the most positive and professional manner. In addition, Officer Crapo is a longtime member of the Police Department Bicycle Unit, has deployed on numerous events and callouts each year, involving both the bicycle and motorcycle units, highlighting his willingness and his capability to work alongside as well as lead multi-jurisdictional mobile operations. He's a valued resource for his commitment and his knowledge of not only traffic-related information, but his IT skills and his self-initiative. Officer Crapo was at the top of our civil service candidate list, was interviewed by Deputy Mealy and myself, and excelled in his interview. And with that, I'd like to recommend him for promotion to the rank of sergeant.
Excellent. I understand that Jerry Cox was also part of the interview? No?
No.
Oh. No?
Sorry,
Okay.
yeah, no, we typically reserve Gerald Cox, who we love, for promotions when our sworn staff come out of civil service. So for the promotion to the rank of deputy superintendent in most cases.
Ah, great. Okay, my mistake. Wonderful. Any questions for the chief? Seeing none, I move approval of the following promotion within the police department. Patrol Officer Christopher Crapo to the rank of sergeant. All those in favor of promoting Officer Chris Crapo to the rank of sergeant? Bernard?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Miriam?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our other chief, Chief Sullivan, also has some promotions.
Good evening, and thank you, Madam Chair. I wish I was promoting Officer Crapo. Sounds wonderful. But I am happy to ask you to support the promotions and of two fine members of the fire department team as well. Recently, as I indicated to you back in October, we were pleased that Captain Owen Thompson was able to be successful in taking the chief's job in Middleborough, Massachusetts, which made two vacancies available for promotion. One is to the rank of lieutenant from firefighter, and the other is from lieutenant to captain to serve in the role that Captain Thompson played previously. So from the rank of firefighter, I recommend from the civil service test and interviews done, firefighter Alan D. Hunt Jr. Firefighter Hunt joined the fire department in 2017, and he is a 2008 graduate of Brookline High School. He holds a bachelor's degree in business administration from the University of Pittsburgh. He holds a pro board certifications as firefighter 1-2 and instructor 1, fire instructor 1. Firefighter Hunt is nationally registered emergency medical technician and has completed ICS training in 100, 200, 718, 800 advanced levels. He's recently served as a temporary lieutenant and comported himself with distinction. The second promotion that I'm pleased to offer for your consideration is Lieutenant Jeremiah Foster. Lieutenant Foster joined the Brookline Fire Department in May of 2003 and was promoted to the rank of lieutenant in 2008, September of that year. Lieutenant Foster graduated from Dighton Rehoboth Regional High School and holds a bachelor's degree in civil engineering from the University of Massachusetts Amherst. He's a nationally registered EMT and completed also ICS 100, 200, 700, and 800. Lieutenant Foster is considered an expert in building construction and is an independent contractor and business owner. His experience and skills will prove to be invaluable assets to our department and the community. It was with a great deal of enthusiasm, and I support and recommend these two members to be promoted to the ranks indicated.
Great. Can you just pronounce Alan's last name for me again?
Hunt.
Hunt. Okay.
Yep.
Any questions for the chief? Nope. Seeing none. Okay, let's get to it. I will, oh, sure, Bernard.
Yeah, I was really impressed by the qualifications of both the police officer, Mr. Crapo, being promoted, as well as the two firefighters. I mean, it is incredible the type of educational and accomplishments that they represent. And I think about that in terms of when I was young, the issue of educated police and firefighters was being debated, and I think that debate has been resolved today. And you know, with educated public safety people, not only do we avoid a lot of problems, but the quality of public safety is enhanced incredibly. So, thank you, Chief Pastor and Chief Sullivan, for I guess encouraging. I mean, you didn't train them, but you found you know, incredibly good people for your department.
Excellent. Any other comments before I move for approval? No? Okay, I move approving the following promotions within the fire department. Firefighter Alan Hunt to the rank of lieutenant, Lieutenant Jeremiah Foster to the rank of captain. All those in favor of approving these promotions, say aye. Bernard?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Miriam?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Thank you so much, Chief.
Thank you very much.
Moving along, we now have a presentation on language access.
Good evening.
Good evening, Lloyd.
I hope everyone's doing well this evening. Lloyd Jelliner from the Office of Diversity, Inclusion, and Community Relations. As you're aware, the town is pursuing the creation of a language access policy and a comprehensive language access plan. This pursuit is an essential aspect of the town's effort to be more inclusive and equitable in its services it provides to the community. The ODICR hired Language Equity and Access Partners, LEAP, to assist the town in the development of a language access policy, the development of a language access plan, and to provide an estimate of the cost associated with the plan's, implementation. Brittany Ford and her associates from LEAP are here this evening to present the process of getting the town better situated to meet the language needs of the Brookline's diverse community. And at this time, I'm pleased to introduce you to Brittany.
Thank you, Lloyd. Good evening, Town Select Board and Devin. Thank you so much for coordinating this for us. Is this a good time to share my presentation?
Yes, please.
Okay.
We have a general rule of under 10 minutes.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you again. Want to introduce myself. I am Brittany Ford from Language Equity and Access Partners. I have my own LLC, Brittany Ford LLC, and this year formed a partnership with two other individuals who also do language access and effective communication consulting across the country with local governments, state governments, and other entities. So I can just want to say again, thank you for having me speak tonight about language access and effective communication. It's been a pleasure working with Lloyd and his team, and also with Devin and several other departments already. And so we're just really excited to be working on this work with you all. So we were hired to conduct a needs assessment, as Lloyd was saying, and develop a language access and ADA effective communication strategy and plan for the town of Brookline. LEAP, our mission is to support organizational change efforts that advance equity and access for culturally and linguistically diverse communities that are aligned to federal and local legal requirements and industry best practices. I wanted to give a little bit of an overview of both language access and effective communication this evening so that we can then talk about what is our plan in the town, both internally and externally in the community. So language access, for those of you that may or may not know, a term that is often used in language access is limited English proficient. And that's a legal term that denotes a person that is over 5 years old who self-reports in the US Census or the American Community Survey that they speak English less than very well. Our firm likes to use the term languages other than English, or LOTE, as an alternative term, as we believe the LEP is more deficit-based, but functionally these are equivalent terms. And the definition of language access is the provision of linguistically and culturally appropriate services that allow LEP or LOTE persons an equal opportunity to participate in and enjoy the benefits of programs, activities, and services in their community. And it is guided by federal law, specifically Title VI of the Civil Rights Act requires all covered entities, so anyone that receives federal funding, including state and local governments and potentially nonprofits and other entities and communities, to provide meaningful access for language access. And that's tied to the Civil Rights Act via an executive order signed by President Clinton in 2000. The executive order is 13166. And then the legal definition of disability from the Americans with Disabilities Act is a person who has a physical or mental impairment that substantially limits one or more major life activities, a person who has a history or record of such an impairment, or a person who is perceived by others as having such an impairment. And specifically around effective communication, which is the ADA equivalent to language access. It is one piece of requirements for Title II of the Americans with Disabilities Act, and those other pieces, which are much more common knowledge, include building compliance, employment compliance, and program compliance. And the goal is to ensure that communication with people with disabilities is as effective as communication with people without disabilities. And so a person with a disability needs to communicate with, receive information from, and convey information to whoever is that covered entity. And in this case, it would be the town of Brookline. And so that could be via auxiliary aids and services, including American Sign Language interpreters, CART services, note takers, and many other auxiliary aids and services that community members who have disabilities may need in order to communicate with your programs and services. And this is covered under both Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act, which forbids public and private entities from excluding qualified individuals with disabilities or denying them an equal opportunity to services. And that's very similar to Title II of the Americans with Disabilities Act, which covers state and local governments, as well as individuals with disabilities and employment and public accommodations. And so why we're here is that you all passed a warrant article last year that identified some key recommendations around identifying a language access coordinator, developing a language access plan, public-facing departments having liaisons for this work in your administration and implementation of your departments, a budget for interpretation, translation, auxiliary aids and services, et cetera. And so those are the things that we are doing as part of this project and effort. I will also note that the disparity report that was released earlier this year has been a really fantastic resource for my team as we've begun doing planning, community, and department engagement with the town of Brookline. And so a little bit more about our project. So our specific goals for the project include to assess the current state of language access and ADA effective communication, to plan and facilitate internal and external stakeholder engagement processes, to develop language access and effective communication policies, plans, and frameworks, and then to develop resources and provide support for implementation. And we launched this project in July, and our plan currently is to wrap up in September of 2023. So some of the things that we are actually launching literally in the next week are the community engagement process. And so this is kind of an overview of that process. We are planning to do one survey, four interviews, and 4 focus groups. And this is a kind of a different consulting process for many projects in that we are doing side-by-side an analysis of language access and effective communication. And the reason we're doing them side-by-side is because, as I've mentioned, they're very separate laws, and so they have different compliance frameworks. At the same time, there is a lot of overlap. And so that is why we're doing one survey, because there are people in the community that may serve both people that speak languages other than English and people that have disabilities and need communications access. And or there may be community members that are both. So with that in mind, we've designed a survey that people can self-select if they serve both communities or just one, and fill out that survey. And that the plan is to launch that on Monday. And that will be open for 2 weeks and that's targeting community leaders and advocates in these respective communities. We also have 4 interviews planned with community leaders and advocates from the respective communities as well. We want to build out some more nuance on what the specific needs of these communities and experiences interacting with the town of Brookline are. And those sessions will be held in early to mid-November. And then we have 4 focus groups that will specifically engage those community members in your communities. And those are planned for beginning to mid-December. The department engagement is slightly different, and that is going to be launching in January and moving into February. And so that is designed to have 2 surveys, one prioritizing department heads and one prioritizing all staff for the town of Brookline, 4 interviews that will cover both language access and effective communication with identified leadership in the town as well as department leadership, and then 4 focus groups that will engage frontline staff and outreach and communication staff, because what we've experienced in consulting is that oftentimes organizations will have policies perhaps on paper, or think that, you know, things are happening on the ground that maybe sometimes frontline staff don't realize there's a plan, don't realize that there's a procedure. And so sometimes there's that disconnect. And so it's really important through these engagement processes to engage with frontline staff and outreach and communication staff. So, and then we're almost done. So these are really the deliverables for this planning project. The project consultants will be providing a needs assessment. That report will be wrapped up by April of 2023. And that will be a needs assessment for LOTE community members and for communications disabilities, including recommendations on cost analysis for implementation of this work that Lloyd referred to, as well as moving into a town-wide language access policy, as well as an effective communication policy, a language access plan, and an effective communication plan, and procedures, tools, and resources to support implementation. And with that, I want to say thank you for your time, and I'm happy to stick around for a few questions. I know that you guys have a very busy evening tonight, so thank you again.
Thank you. Any other, any comments from select board members? Miriam.
Hi, thank you for that. So as a hearing aid wearer and a person who had several conversations with Devin when I first started out on the select board because there were no closed captions, I know this is something the town really needs. My question is actually, well, first, thank you for the presentation. And my question really is, I think there are some things that we can be asking our departments to do now that's low hanging fruit. Something like adding alt text to PDF announcements or flyers. And so I guess the idea of waiting however many months, 6 months to September 2023 to start doing some of this stuff seems like we can find there are some things that we can actually be asking for without waiting for a final report. So I guess I'd love to hear the thoughts on that. Low hanging fruit, easy changes.
So are you saying like PDF readers, and can you talk through a little bit more what you are?
Yeah,
specifically?
so for instance, we're doing an event and we create a flyer, a PDF flyer, and nobody's put any alt text in it. So unless, which is not hard to do, doesn't take very long, and makes it from being inaccessible to somebody who needs a reader to completely accessible. But there's no, as far as I know, there's no policy. So unless somebody's actually going back to that department and saying, hey, can you add alt text to this? It's not happening. So I don't see why we have to wait till September 2023 to implement something like that. So I guess that's what I'm getting at. There are some, low hanging, easy things that we can be doing now that we shouldn't have to wait. That's where I'm at. Jazz looks like he wants to say no. Okay. He's just going to agree.
I mean, that's a good thing to bring up, and we should, definitely talk to our town administrator about maybe issuing guidance to departments, because not everyone understands what you mean by alt text.
Right. Oh, speaking of, my hearing aids battery just died. But I think also that's something, some of that low hanging fruit, I would imagine that our consulting firm would be able to help identify quick, easy stuff. Right. I get, that's my point, I guess, is it'd be nice if we could get on some of these things without waiting for the final report.
Yeah. And for those that are still wondering what alt text is,
it's alternate text. So you literally click on a little box while you're creating your PDF, and then you write in what it is that you've written on the PDF. So somebody who has a screen reader, so somebody who has low vision or no vision, can click on a button on their screen and it will read to them out loud what it says on the PDF. So it will say, join us for the Harvest Festival on this date at this time at this location. If you're really sophisticated, you can actually do alt text for photos. And you could click on the photo and then you put a description in. It says, this is a photo of a pumpkin with, lights and its eyes and whatever on a stair on somebody's doorstep.
Right.
Thank you for pointing that out.
Being in transportation, we use a lot of acronyms, so.
Yes,
people
so it's
will
an
stop.
excellent, it's an excellent point.
Bernard.
Can I ask our expert on alt text, does that allow you to cut and paste into the alt text box?
Yeah, I think so.
Really?
I mean, it's really
That's-
not hard
that's
to
a-
add.
That's really low food.
Yeah. it's
Yes,
really not
yeah.
hard to-
But a lot of people just
They
don't,
just don't know.
they don't know.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yep. Any, John?
First of all, thank you very much. I thought it was a very clear presentation, and I think it makes us. I hope it makes all of us realize that this is going to be a challenging area in which to improve what we currently offer, and we do have to improve what we currently offer, and it's going to take time, and we're going to all learn as we go along. And I just wonder if you could give us a sense of the state of the art right now, and by that I mean. Are we pretty much where most communities are in terms of what we currently offer in terms of language access? And is there a community, preferably one that's well known to people in Brookline, that is kind of a model of they're way ahead of a lot of other communities in their practices of language access?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Actually, you have one really close to you in Brookline, the city of Boston. So they have a department for both. It's specifically called Communications and Language Access, which covers both effective communication and language access for city services. And one of the members of our team is actually a former director of that office and helped launch that office for the city of Boston. And so she's the one kind of guiding effective communication planning for this project. So I think we're all in good hands with her, as well as the other team members that were not able to make it tonight, but give their regards. So I would also say, like, specifically, so part of the problem is that language access and effective communication often get confused. And I think that, community members or advocates may not know the legal distinctions between the two. And so, specifically that a lot of cities have led really strongly in language access, but maybe not also in effective communication. So that's where, city of Boston is really unique, as well as Minneapolis, Minnesota, where they have really looked at them both concurrently, but also respecting that they have different compliance frameworks. So those are some of the cities that I would recommend, as well as Washington, DC government is also has a really, really strong language access program, and San Francisco in California. For medium-sized cities, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania has a program that is really strong for language access, but it's not tied to their effective communication program. And in terms of where you all are currently, I'll be really honest that our experience with local government and state government is they are literally all over the board. So there are some towns, cities, counties, states that are much further advanced in this space. And then there are those that maybe are still kind of in the emerging stages. I would say that, it's really great that you guys have policies for ADA compliance that I think do speak to auxiliary aids and services, but having spoken to the staff that kind of coordinate that, they do feel like they're under-resourced to do the implementation at the level that they would like to, and really without a plan that guides them. And so they're really excited to have this process happening so that they can have more clear, just phased approaches to how they do this work. And so there's that. And then language access. I don't think that you guys have a whole lot specific for language access yet, but I know that we're able to incorporate some of that as we move forward as well.
Can I ask a follow-up?
Of course, John.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up on that a tiny bit. So I'm glad you cited Boston. Does that mean, for example, a Boston City Council meeting, which is maybe a little bit like their equivalent of a select board meeting?
Yeah.
Would that be if one sort of decided to tune in to that meeting? Does that mean that they do simultaneous streaming in several different languages of what's going on at their meetings? I'm just trying to sort of operationalize.
Yeah, so
what this means.
very likely a lot of cities, so, you know, we weren't as much in a Zoom world before COVID-19. So especially for like public meetings. But a lot of cities, counties, states across the country, when COVID-19 hit and started moving their meetings virtual, then they really had to ramp up those efforts. And so I have not tuned into a City of Boston legislative meeting, but my guess is that they would absolutely have at minimum several languages that they've identified through a planning process, a demographic analysis process, similar to what we're doing for you all.
Thank you.
Any other questions by board members? Thank you very much for this update.
Welcome.
It was a topic of great debate at town meeting, so very nice to see some progress.
Excellent. Well, thank you again and have a great evening. And thank you, Lloyd. See you soon.
Okay, so we are running about 10 minutes early. We have a couple of options. We could take a brief recess, or we could skip around on our agenda, the things that were not noticed for a specific time. How are people feeling?
I would keep going with this point.
Okay.
It's early enough,
So I
but
have
I'm happy to defer to whatever.
Well, my only concern would be if there were people counting on being here and we catch them unawares, you know, if we jump ahead.
True, but when it comes to, so the last item on our agenda are the warrant articles.
Right.
And we've already had the presentation from the petitioners. I have not been notified that there are any changes, substantive changes to the warrant articles that we have heard. So we were going to vote on our position for the golf course, the two bylaw amendments for the allowable number of storefront marijuana retailers, and then also beekeeping.
Oh, let's just do that.
So let's start with the easy stuff, beekeeping.
And you're sure that's easy, huh?
Yeah. I remember being a town meeting member in the Green Caucus, and we had one such meeting where I found out that we have a bee crisis.
Yes.
So, and I also heard this very interesting anecdote that I don't know how much I really believe, but it's really fun to think about, that a couple realizes that they were not allowed to have bees, so they were paying off a postal worker so that they could keep bees in their mailbox.
Oh, my goodness.
I know.
You're gonna scare
Telling our health director this afternoon that I'm terrified. So-
It's an indicator of how little first-class mail.
So I caught maybe like half of the discussion from last week. Anyone have any thoughts?
I mean,
Miriam?
I like bees. No, I don't see any reason to not support this warrant article personally.
John?
Bernard has it.
Oh,
yeah.
Bernard.
Yeah, I mean, I love bees.
But
I'm not afraid of them either. But I think the issue here is whether this is necessary. It's necessary to reduce the spacing between a beehive and properties from 100 to 20 feet. And I think there's some discussion as to whether, you know, that's something that is best left in the hands of the regulators, you know, in this case, the health department, to resolve. So.
Great.
I don't know what the answer is to that.
So you
John?
don't see any problem. I'm just want to be sure I know where you're coming down on this. You don't see any problem with voting for this then?
No, I don't see a problem voting for it, but I think that maybe the better approach is to, even if we go forward, to just make sure that we detail the health department to come up with some solutions to the problems that the petitioners
Yeah.
identify. So,
Which is essentially what this article does, right? It turns this over to the health department.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, not completely.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So apparently there's an AC version that our planning department prefers.
Oh,
Oh,
do we
need to
have
hear
that in
about
front of us?
Trying to find it. Okay.
So
Stefan's trying to find it.
I don't
Melissa.
have I don't have a copy of the AC version, but I know that the petitioner should be the one providing that if they are looking for the board to come in line. And the petitioner is not here, so I would recommend postponing this until we have something to vote on.
Okay. Good enough for me. Do we have current language for the golf course?
I think that's also something that I don't have any revised versions on, and I do know that there have been a lot of discussions around that article. So I would postpone that one unless the petitioners are here, and I don't see them in the participant list, at least not jumping out at me right now. But I think that 15 and 18 are probably ready for a vote. I know that we talked last week about the CMAC voting in favor of these articles. And I don't believe that there are any amendments under them that have come through.
Great. Okay. Well, let's take up Articles 15 and 18. Any discussion there?
I just want clarification
John?
on what Melissa just said, that CMAC voted in favor of the articles.
Let's hear from the chair of the CMAC.
The vote was 3-0 with one abstention, that abstention being mine. This, I think for the public to just understand, the Cannabis Mitigation Advisory Committee is composed of people who are neighbors of marijuana dispensaries, as we insist on calling them, as marijuana stores. They have, at this point, I think, a pretty good modus vivendi with their neighboring stores, but they felt like this was a reasonable limitation on the number of stores.
And may I?
Yes.
And so just to clarify, CMAC is not the moderators committee on marijuana.
No,
policy.
and I did have a request from the moderators, a member of the moderators committee, to postpone a vote. But it wasn't at all clear where they were in their discussions.
Mhm.
Whereas with CMAC, it was really pretty much short and sweet.
So I'm happy to speak if you
Sure.
wish.
Sure.
So I'm not in favor of these articles, and the reason I took the trouble to distinguish between CMAC and the Moderators Committee is because the Moderators Committee is very important to this. The Moderators Committee resulted from our prior town meeting, where there were proposals in front of town meeting to essentially cap or reduce the number of licenses in Brookline. And instead of a vote in favor of any of those reductions in licenses or caps on licenses, at the end of the day, a moderators committee was appointed to, or was voted for by town meeting and then subsequently appointed by the moderator for the sole purpose of figuring out many of the policy disagreements that came out of the last town meeting discussions. And I happened to sit in on a meeting of that moderators committee, which was just this afternoon. And I think I can safely say they are nowhere near done with their work. And in fact, they had a very interesting discussion this afternoon of what data to rely on. Do we rely in part on anecdotal data, as long as we say it's anecdotal data? Is there reliable data out there from states that were among the first to have a lot of retail marijuana operations? If so, does that apply to Brookline? Does it apply to Massachusetts? Laws are changing, and I shouldn't say laws are changing, but the policies at the state level in Massachusetts are changing. Very interesting show this afternoon on BUR with a couple of people, one of who is from the State Cannabis Control Commission, one of whom is from a consultant group advising the State Cannabis Control Commission, and all about equity and all about the changes that people at the state level are trying to bring about to address the failures in various communities to have licenses that sort of meet the definition of equitable distribution to all groups, especially groups that were the most harmed by prior marijuana policies. So we are not at a position right now where we know what the end result of the moderators committee study will be. And we are not in a position right now where we have clarity, because we haven't been working on it, frankly, as to how changes at the state level might open the door in Brookline to some more serious consideration of remedying the failure of Brookline to do an equitable distribution of cannabis retail licenses. And for that reason, I don't think we are ready to vote on either of these articles right now. I mean, I don't think we're ready to vote in favor of them. So I would vote no action on.
Mary.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that, John. I agree. I would vote no action on these. And to me, the problem is slightly different, which is when we heard the presentation, what I heard was, and maybe I'm wrong, but what I got out of it was a push for a ballot vote to the town, right? That's really what this is about, in my opinion, is that they want a townwide vote. We've had a townwide vote, and I don't think we need another.
Any other comments? I have one thought. So I'm also no action for neither of the reasons. I just don't like taking licensing authority away from the select board. You know, limiting the number of storefronts is premature. And if you want control over that, run for select board. There's an opening.
I should have thought of that one.
Any other discussion? Okay, I will move no action on warrant article 15 to amend the town's general bylaws to limit the allowed number of storefront marijuana retailers to 4 by amending article 8.37.4. All those in favor, I'm
no
moving.
action.
Yes, in favor of no action. Bernard,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Miriam,
Aye.
Mike.
Most unusual abstain.
Okay.
And you
And
vote?
oh, you're right. And aye. The chair votes aye. Thank you. I will move no action on warrant article 18 to amend article 4.13 of the town's zoning bylaws to limit the allowed number of marijuana retailers to 4. All those in favor, Bernard,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Miriam,
Aye.
Mike,
Abstain.
and the chair votes aye. Yes. Okay. So we will have 2 to discuss hopefully towards the end of the evening. Otherwise, we'll probably kick it to another meeting if we don't have the AC's version of warrant article 33. Okay, getting back to our regular agenda. Package store license transfer public hearing that was noticed for 7 p.m. Stephanie Boudreau.
Yes.
Good evening.
Good evening. Nice to see you all. So I'm here tonight for Cerezo Vino Brookline LLC as their counsel. They had applied to the town for the transfer of liquor license. The transfer had been approved by the town, and the transfer was then approved by the ABCC. Unfortunately, the transaction between the buyer and the seller ultimately fell apart. And so we're here seeking the reversal of the board's approval of the license back from Ruthie's Liquors and Wine LLC to back to Cerezo Vino Brookline LLC. We've discussed with the ABCC, and this was the route that they asked us to go.
How very unfortunate. This is a public hearing, so Devin, do let me know if any members of the public wish to speak. This seems pretty straightforward. Any questions or comments from select board members before I see whether or not we have any members of the public? Seeing none. Oh, John, sorry.
Sorry.
If only we had like a hand raise feature in real life.
Is this unusual? I mean, this caught me on sort of off guard a little bit. I don't recall seeing on the select board's agenda previously a transfer and then a transfer back.
I think normally what happens is that if a deal is going to fall apart, it falls apart before the ABCC approves it. And in this case, it actually fell apart right before the ABCC approved it, but we hadn't had a chance to withdraw the application. So I think it is a little bit unusual, but you know, and that's why we did confer with the ABCC to make sure that the process we were proceeding with was accurate and was, you know, dotting all our I's and crossing all our T's. And so that's why we're here.
Any other comments, questions from board members? Anyone from the, oh, John, Bernard, sorry.
We both had boy. So will Cerezo Market remain open as a liquor store?
Yes. Yep, that's its current
Without
plan.
losing that.
Oh, good.
No.
Any members of the public?
At this time, there are 34 attendees. No one has used the hand raise or Q&A feature to indicate they'd like to make a comment.
So I will close the public hearing portion of this discussion. Any other comments before I move for things to go back the way that they were? Seeing none, I will move approval of the reversal of the transfer of the retail package store license, reverse from Ruthie Liquor and Wine Incorporated, doing business as Ruthie Liquor and Wine, back to Cerezo Vino Brookline LLC, doing business as Cerezo Market at 27 Harvard Street. All those in favor? Bernard?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Miriam?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, an all alcohol license transfer, common vic, alternate manager and entertainment license, public hearing. Ooh, I mean, boy, they checked option D, all of the above. Do we have Andrea, Johan, and Miguel?
Yes, we're trying to get, good evening. We are trying to get our camera work, but it's not working, unfortunately.
Well, we can hear you, so that's half the battle.
Good.
Give me 1 second.
Hi. I'm sorry.
You'll have to mute other devices.
Can you hear us now?
Yes.
All right.
So who are you and what would you like us to do for you this evening?
So my name is Johan Medina. We're trying to get a liquor license transferred to our name. We have 2 locations of a restaurant, Columbia Restaurant, one in East Boston and one being in Revere. We're looking to add a 3rd one into the Brookline community. We have been a family-owned restaurant for over 25 years. So we're looking to expand and serve our food to the Brookline community, knowing that, if you would approve that transfer.
Excellent. Okay. Any questions from board members? This is a public hearing, so in a minute I will find out if there are any members of the public who wish to speak. I see some outdoor seating, private patio, outdoor dining, 8 seats.
Correct.
Oh, good.
This looks like it's where Velo used to be.
Yes. So is that towards
It's on Harvard Street near like a kitty corner from Couples Bakery near the, not too far from the Tate.
Got it.
The block across the street from the Tate.
Okay, great.
A doggy thing right across from the restaurant.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So any members of the public?
I see one person with their hand raised. Howard Wernick, I'm going to promote you to a panelist.
Start video. Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, so my name is Howard Wernick, and I am the owner and landlord of the premises where the Velo and now Medina will be located. And I just want to say that I don't just pick anyone to be my tenant. I did a thorough research and investigation into these people. They have a very successful restaurant. They are experienced restaurateurs. Their references came through Golden. They are high quality, high integrity, people of good character, and I would encourage the board to approve their request.
Thank you very much. That is, I've only seen that, I think, one other time in my 5 years that a landlord actually called in and said things on behalf of the requesting party. Sir, please come to the mic.
My name is Ira Dobrow, and I live on Fuller Street, just about a block away from this restaurant. And we frequented the establishment often when it was Velo's, became friendly with the person who ran that restaurant, who told us that they were closing and that the new tenants were these highly reputable group of people that had another restaurant in East Boston, and that their food was great and that they were very professional, and that he was glad that somebody of that quality was going to take over where his business was. And we have since been there, and we were very happy with it. And we'd like to recommend that the board approve the transfer of the license as well.
Great, thank you so much. And any other members of the public who are trying to speak?
At this time, there are 32 virtual attendees and 1 in person. No one has used the hand raise or Q&A feature to indicate they'd like to make a comment.
Mike?
Yeah, I was, thank you. I walked past a couple of weeks ago, I think it was, and it looked like the build out was getting going pretty well. And I asked one of the people on the construction crew when expected to be done, and they said something like November. So I'm just interested in when you expect to open.
As soon as, we get everything ready and approved, we'll be ready to, make that appearance.
So what are the construction folks saying to you?
I'm sorry?
What are the construction people saying to you, the people who are doing the build out?
No, they're pretty much done. It was my things. It was just like, painting, just putting a big sticker on the wall. It wasn't nothing major. So hopefully by next week.
Oh, I was going to say before Christmas.
Yeah.
Okay.
That'll be before Christmas.
Before November, certainly. Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Chaz?
Yeah, I just wanted to say we're always happy. The staff is always happy to welcome new businesses to the neighborhood. We just wanted to flag for you, since it's in particular, since it's later in the later in tonight's board meeting. This is a neighborhood in which one of the concerns is the proliferation of a rodent problem. And that it's been driven in part by increased outdoor dining. And we notice, you have the patio there, and we just want to let you know that it's an issue of community concern. And we know, hearing from all the people who have spoken, that you're responsible owners and folks who are really dedicated to the community and so forth. You'll work with us in helping to keep Brookline's rodent population down as new tenants in that area. So just wanted to flag for you that is an area where a lot of people have a lot of concerns, and to make sure that you know that as you come in and are working with the community on that issue.
No, I agree. We've actually talked to the pest control to keep them once a week. Every once a week, we'll have them in there, do what they have to do. And obviously we're here to work with you guys and, help with what we need to do.
Great, thank you so much.
Can't wait to try.
I will close the public hearing portion. Any other discussion amongst ourselves before I move language? Let's see, do I have to? Oh, yes, I have to do these individually. Okay, bear with me. I move approval of the application for a transfer of an all alcohol beverage restaurant license from SLH Restaurant LLC, doing business as Bello Restaurant, to Medina LLC, doing business as El Peño at 404 Harvard Street, Brookline, Massachusetts. Proposed manager will be Johan A. Medina Belbin. The proposed seating is 46 seats inside dining, 24 seats inside bar, and 8 seats for private patio outdoor dining. Proposed operating hours are Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to midnight, and Sunday, 12 p.m. to midnight. And proposed alcohol beverage service hours are Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to midnight, and Sunday, 12 p.m. to midnight. All those in favor? Bernard?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Miriam?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. I move approval of the application of a common victular license for Medina LLC, doing business as El Peño at 404 Harvard Street. Proposed manager of record is Johan A. Medina Balbin. Operating hours of operation will be Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to midnight, and Sunday, 12 p.m. to midnight. The proposed seating is 46 seats inside dining, 24 seats inside bar, and 8 seats for private patio outdoor dining. All those in favor? Bernard?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Miriam?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. I move approval of the application for an alternate manager, Miguel A. Medina, for Medina LLC, doing business as El Peño at 404 Harvard Street. Bernard, all those in favor? Bernard,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Miriam,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Finally, I move approval of the application for an entertainment license for Medina LLC, doing business as El Peño at 404 Harvard Street. Entertainment consists of recorded music, radio, and television, Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to midnight, and Sunday, 12 p.m. to midnight. All those in favor? Bernard?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Miriam?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Thank you very much and best of luck.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
very much.
Hope to see you guys there.
Oh, you will.
Okay, food vendor license. Happy Girl Bakery. I cannot wait to find out
I
more about
know.
this.
Same.
Chair Hamilton, I don't actually see the folks here for that license.
Okay.
So I'm reaching out to them now, but I suggest, since it's we're a little early.
One time.
We could do a little bio break.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're gonna do that. Stephanie, sit tight. We'll probably get to you if we don't see John Goodman or Nicole Walsh hop on.
Okay.
Okay, so we will reconvene in about 7 minutes at 7:25.
Right.
Hey, Devin, is there a way I can print something off the printer from my laptop?
My window for peanut butter is never closed.
Never closed.
Whenever you're ready.
Okay. Oh, do we have, is it the food vendor license people or am I skipping to Stephanie?
We're going right to the 725.
Right, okay. Are we live? Oh, great. Stephanie. We're going straight to you if you are ready.
I can't get my video to start. But so I have another hearing in 5 minutes, so I can do this really quick. I don't know if Devin already
yes.
switched it over.
Yeah, we're doing the Corey and Sons liquors.
Yes, I have another hearing in Newton in 5 minutes, but I think we can get this done.
Okay,
But my video won't work, so I apologize.
no worries.
Okay, so Stephanie Boudreau from our lot 300 Washington Street here on behalf of the applicant. This is an applicant relating to Foley's Liquors. There is located at 228 Cypress Street in Brookline. The current licensee is Corey and Sons Liquors, and David and Nadeem Corey are the stockholders. David and Nadeem are seeking here to transfer their stock interest to Victor Barakat and Rula Barakat, and transfer the business essentially. So Victor and Rula have worked in the store for many years, so have the experience necessary to take over the license. They're both US citizens, they're both Mass residents, and they have both been quarried by the town. There has been the stock transfer agreement submitted, and they're just looking for approval from the town and the ABCC of the transfer of stock.
Sounds very straightforward, and that's so nice that there's some continuity with people who have been familiar with this business.
Okay.
Any comments by select board members? Otherwise, I'm going to ask Devin if there are any members of the public who have indicated that they would like to speak. Because this is a public hearing.
At this time, there are 38 virtual attendees and 2 in person. No one has used the hand raise or Q&A feature to indicate they'd like to make a comment.
I will close the public hearing. Any other discussion before I move the language to be voted? Seeing none, I move approval of the application for a change in owner interest for Corey and Sons Liquors Incorporated, doing business as Foley's Liquor Mart at 228 Cypress Street. Current shareholders Nadine and David Corey are selling their shares of Corey and Sons Liquors Incorporated to Rola Barakat and Victor Barakat. All those in favor? Bernard?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Miriam?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Thank you so much. Any indication from Happy Girl Bakery?
I don't see them.
I was so looking forward to hearing about their,
Good girl.
yeah,
I know, me too. It's very curious.
okay. We are 5 minutes shy of meeting the 7:35 PM notice for the new hotel. Should we revisit the beekeeping warrant article?
That
I
would be
think Devin
perfect.
has an update for us.
Yes, I do. I have in your packet the updated language that I'm going to try and get on your screen. Okay. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Thank you to Polly in the planning department for sending this over. This is what the advisory committee voted on and the petitioner agreed to on warrant article, the revised wording for warrant article 33.
Oh, excellent. So the petitioner has agreed to adopt this language. That makes it a little bit easier.
It's not also, this didn't come to me from the petitioner. So our normal practice is that when these changes are amended at various board and commission meetings, that the petitioner, if they are in agreement with the changes, send them back up to us for your review. So I can't confirm that because I didn't get that directly, but that's what's been conveyed to me by staff.
Okay, well, let's hope it's accurate information. We can deal with it if it is not. Any discussion? Oh,
Yeah,
Mike.
there's changes are not substantive, but just, a bit of editing. I don't think there's, anybody would have much quarrel with approving. Yeah.
Oh, Mike, you have been on select board and in town stuff way too long to think that logic.
A fair comment. A fair comment.
Miriam and then John.
I'll just say to Bernard's point, it does say that it refers back to the Director of Public Health in the town of Brooklyn.
Great.
Okay, is that the new language? Or?
Yes.
John?
I'm going to vote for this. I do want to, with Bernard's permission, just correct a nuance that I think enters into this discussion a lot. And it was, reference to people who are afraid of bees. There are people who are afraid of bees, and that's fine. But there are also people who have to be very careful around bees because of a medical condition, which is bee sting allergy, which can actually prove fatal in case where you might have anaphylactic shock. It's not that simple an issue, and that's why I think some very thoughtful people were a little bit concerned about not having clear enough, perhaps not having clear enough guardrails in what is being proposed and what is being approved if we vote yes tonight. But I'm okay with leaving it up to the health department. I think the health department gets it. I think they know how serious the problem of bee stings can be for some people, and that whatever regulations they, whatever guidelines they come up with for beekeeping will incorporate that very important public health advised aspect of welcoming bees and welcoming beekeepers to Brookline, but also in a way that recognizes that there needs to be sort of a safe zone if there's going to be a lot of bees introduced into a neighborhood. Thanks.
Any other discussion before I move favorable action on the AC's amended version? Seeing none, I will move favorable action on the amended warrant article 33, a zoning bylaw change to allow for beekeeping. All those in favor? Bernard?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Miriam?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Okay, let's circle back to our license hearing. New hotel, all alcohol license, common vic. Alternate manager and entertainment
solved.
license, public hearing.
Food vendor's license, I think is the correct word.
Yeah, that was
That's just
noticed
thrown in to
for,
make us,
right,
make it difficult.
for 7:35. The attorney of record, I believe, is Bobby Allen.
That is correct, Madam Chair.
Great.
May I?
Do you have any updates? I know that we have heard about this property a couple of times.
Yeah, I didn't know, Madam Chair. First of all, for the record, Robert Allen, 300 Washington Street in Brookline Village. Thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. I didn't know if you wanted me to refresh the board's recollection relative to the number of where we are with it, what's going to be, if you want a refresher, or if you want me to just dive into what's different from when we last spoke.
Let's do this. We've got about 6 people signed up so far to speak for the public hearing. So concentrate on the differences, and then if we need a refresher, especially after public comment, I'll
I'll do a hybrid. I'll get a little bit in there. So here with me tonight is Mata Faisal, Wagner, Quintanilla, close. Sorry, Wagner. Eva Kavanaugh. Wagner is the proposed manager of record. Eva is the alternate manager of record. Again, we're looking for innkeeper, all alcohol for the patrons of the hotel, common vic, entertainment, and the alternate manager license. As a reminder, 119 rooms. It's a boutique Irish hotel. Everything has been submitted to the town. The first floor will consist, this is what the board is really interested in, first floor will consist of a lobby, reception desk, a small bistro style restaurant, small bar for which the all alcohol beverage license is here sought, and there's parking for 60 spots on 2 levels. The lobby restaurant will be American fare with international specials offered each day. There'll be 40 seats and an outdoor patio located at the front of the hotel. It's cordoned off by hedges. There'll be about 20 seats right around the outdoor area. The proposed hours for the restaurant is 6 to 11 p.m. and the bar 10 to 1 a.m. The application for the entertainment license is just for televisions and background music. The sole officer and director of the proposed licensee, EK Webster Corp., is Munter Faisal, who is in the process involved with the renovation of this building. Last time we were here, the board had some concerns about Anwar Faisal having a financial interest in the liquor license. Anwar's intention was always to be the property owner and lease out the hotel's day-to-day operation. He brought in his nephew Munter to take over the business of running the hotel, and Wagner and Eva to manage the day-to-day operations. I should note this is the third hotel that this team has been involved with or is involved with. Munter works in Brookline, lives in Needham with his family, and has been a member of the Brookline business community for many years. With this hotel, I think the hope is to draw some business into the Coolidge Corner area. We all know there's a little shortage of businesses in Brookline. I just heard recently the two stores going into the SS Pierce building, arguably one of the most premier buildings in Brookline, is yet another urgent care and actually a Taco Bell. So I think there's a need for additional people. Not to mention this hotel will employ about 40 people. You put the employees in, you put the guests in, and hopefully that's more people walking around the village. Plus, this is extended stay hotel, so the hope is that they will, while they'll have little kitchenettes in their room, they'll patronize the buildings there. Wagner, the proposed manager of record, has experience, and you'll hear from him tonight, has experienced both the hotel business and liquor industry, been involved in hotel management in New York and Boston since 1996. Of course, he's old at 21, as you can tell by his distinguished look there. He's a U.S. citizen, has been crowd manager certified, in-person tip certified, serve safe certified, and familiar with the rules and regulation of this board and of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Wagner's already met with the health department to discuss and review Brookline specific regs and requirements, and is familiar with the liquor and innkeeper regulations of the town. He'll also be instrumental in opening and managing the hotel, and of course here to answer any questions. And also is Eva Kavanaugh as an alternate manager. Eva will be working in the hotel. She's worked with Wagner. She's been involved in the hotel industry for many years. Madam Chair, I would be remiss if I didn't just say a quick aside. I want to mention that for months, as this project went through the lengthy planning and permitting process, which were all approved, we answered every question, we accepted every condition. There was a particular neighbor banging the drum and appearing at almost every meeting to express opposition, couched in terms of concerns for the neighborhood. In particular, we heard time and time again concerns raised about human trafficking and sex workers. Now you might hear that the concerns were due to the fact that this is a boutique hotel and not a flag hotel. However, there are other hotels in Brookline that I actually represent that don't have a flag, and no one's ever appeared at those hearings with any similar opposition. My client has made it crystal clear he'll run this hotel with experienced hotel managers, and you'll hear from Wagner. He'll train all his staff with training models used for first-rate national hotels. He'll have staff at the reception desk 24/7 and has already engaged and hired experienced hotel consultants and will comply with the security, health, and safety standards required by the town and contained in the special permit. So what is the underlying dogged opposition and concerns about? My client was very concerned that it could be unconscious or perhaps conscious bias against him as an immigrant, as a Muslim. I assured him that I've lived in Brookline and I've been involved in Brookline for a long time, and that will not be the case. These issues have never been brought up, but I think people have some concerns and we will hear from them. Again, I've assured my client that this board is not arbitrary or capricious in how it hands out licenses and that he could get a fair hearing on the merits of what is presented. I'll remind you that this building was a former nursing home and went out of business when it was vacant and the town needed space for the Ridley Ruffin School. We stepped up and we provided the space for the entire time that the school committee needed the building. Again, there was a smear campaign today in the TMA listserv, which is too bad. This related to Anwar Faisal. Clearly, this was one-sided, unfair, using outdated information. And it's a shame that people can't take all this negativity and hostility and put it in a better use. But for the record, Mr. Faisal owns thousands of units around the city of Boston, some of which are rented to primary college students, which is a huge need in the city. This is where many of those old and unfavorable news stories came from. Mr. Faisal owns over 200 rental units in Brookline without any issues from the building department or health department. So he's not new to this town. He lives in Brookline. His business is in Brookline. And for the record, he's one of only a handful of landlords that has all his buildings in Boston certified by the city under a 5-year plan, which is a rigorous inspection process and can only be applied for if you have an excellent history of property management and compliance with the city and state code. But this hearing should not be about Anwar Faisal. While he may own the land, he will not have a financial interest in this liquor license. Therefore, I ask you to grant the license requested tonight, understanding that the health, safety, and security plan will be updated, reviewed, and approved by all departments prior to occupancy. And of course, this board will have continued oversight of all these licenses, not only on a yearly basis, but anytime they want to bring it up. With that, I would put out Wagner if you have any specific questions for him. Of course, if you have any questions for me, I'm here too. So sorry I went along a little longer than I wanted to, but I felt that another side had to be heard, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Do we want to hear from Wagner before we open it up to public comment? Okay. Can you promote?
Wagner, you want to give a little background?
Sure thing. I want to thank for the opportunity to talk today about this exciting project. I've been in the hotel business for 28 years. I started as a doorman in New York City, and I, climbed the ranks, and I did management in New York for a long 17 years. Moved up to Boston, worked 8 years in Boston, general manager throughout that whole time. I'm very excited to come to Brookline. This is an upscale product, an independent hotel, long-term residence for a need that I see in the area. I strongly recommend a non-brand hotel so we can go above and beyond to what the branded hotel does. They cater for a corporate crowd. That's not what we intend to do. We want a very intimate experience. We want to make sure our service is to the utmost standard. And that's a beautiful building, a beautiful location. I can see a very profitable hotel. I think that's going to bring good traffic to the neighborhood. I will be manning the hotel with my team daily, and I'm going to bring all my experience, and I really want to bring this hotel to be our flagship of our company. If you please, you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer in terms of operations to the minute details.
Thank you. Any questions from board members? Mike?
Yes. I wonder if you could tell us what hotels you've been general manager of here in the Boston area?
Sure. That was the Holiday Inn Express Boston. And that was my 8 years track history there
What was it? Holiday Inn.
Holiday Inn
Boston.
Express.
in Boston.
Okay, and that's the one in Somerville, or is that in Boston itself?
That's in South Boston.
South Boston. Okay, thank you.
Boston. You're very welcome.
Bernard?
Yeah, a couple questions. And bear in mind that, we've been receiving a lot of emails, phone calls, et cetera, regarding this hotel. And my questions reflect some of the concerns that people have expressed. I have not checked out the certain allegations, but I'm asking you to respond to them.
Sure.
First one is, I understand that the ZBA originally approved or granted a variance for this hotel on the assumption that it would not have a restaurant. Yet you're asking us to approve a liquor license for a restaurant and bar. Could you explain, what has changed and why you're now asking for a restaurant, and whether you have to go back through the permitting process in order to do
This
that?
might be appropriate for Attorney Allen. I'm not sure. I'll leave it up to you too.
Okay.
No, we have to chip in.
That was just a factual question. as
Right.
opposed to-
I don't think that's correct, Bernard. My memory was that we submitted plans that actually showed a restaurant area. I don't know that it showed the entire bar area there, but it showed kind of a placeholder for a restaurant. Now understand, the ZBA is really relative to FAR and use and that type of thing. And we sort of had a placeholder area of where the eating area, dining area, and kitchen area would be. So while it might not have spelled out exact bar location, we weren't far enough on the plans at that point, which is not unusual. I mean, it didn't have the clear outside patio area, but it had the outside area that we were going to propose to be the outside seating area. So that's not my memory. And I went through the process myself.
Right, okay.
And if I may add, this restaurant, it's a bar. It's a very small bar. It's a hotel amenity. Our goal is to provide an amenity to the hotel guests as a convenience. We're not looking to bring an outside crowd. It's not something that would make money to the hotel. It's more of a amenity for the people who just want to, have a drink, relax, and go back to the room. We're not looking to attract a crowd, neither for the restaurant or bar.
This is only for clientele of the hotel.
Okay.
We've got Polly
Okay.
from the town staff. Do you want to hear from her?
Yes.
Okay.
Good evening, Polly Selko, Assistant Director of Regulatory Planning. Let me fix my screen just a minute. I did take a look at the plans today, and actually, the plan set a breakfast area, which, as you know, a lot of smaller hotels will serve kind of a continental breakfast in the mornings. It did not say a restaurant. It showed no seating. It showed no outdoor seating. And I would think at the very least that they would need to go back and revise their floor plans and submit floor plans to both the building department and the planning department.
Yes, I believe we have that done, and if I'm not mistaken, we did submit to the health department for the restaurant license, but we can definitely submit that. We have that ready.
Sorry, I didn't understand what you said or hear what you said.
He said
I
that they
do
can
apologize.
definitely do that.
Okay, good. Well, I have one other question. And again, this is what I hear, and you can correct it. But I do want to ask, what is the minimum time that you will be leasing out rooms at the hotel?
When you say minimum time, do you mean hourly rate?
Right.
No hourly rate.
Okay, so 24 hours is minimum time.
Absolutely. A daily rate.
Okay, that's all I have.
And that's
Um,
fair
Right
enough.
now, anyway.
Yeah.
Human traffic.
John, did you have questions, John?
Well, I'll just say that I think this matter has been clarified, but just to flesh it out a tiny bit more. So there is a tape of a meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals at which someone who, at the time of the hearing, was introduced as being the person who would be in charge of running the hotel. It's not the person who is now designated as the operator of the hotel. But that person was asked a question and said to the Zoning Board of Appeals, there will not be a restaurant and there will not be food and beverage service in this hotel. So given that that was on the record at an earlier Zoning Board of Appeals hearing or Zoning Board of Appeals hearing a couple of years ago, people raised the question, if that representation was made to the Zoning Board of Appeals, why would there now be a license granted? So a couple of things I think do need to be pointed out, and I think have pretty much been pointed out in the discussion so far. But just to add to that a tiny bit, two things were explained to me in answer to questions that I put to individuals earlier today. And one is that a restaurant space of up to 5,000 square feet is allowed by right in this district. If anyone wants to change that information or correct it, that's fine, but this is what was given to me by a reliable person. That a restaurant space of up to 5,000 square foot is allowed by right in the district. And secondly, and this might be the more important point, statements made orally at Zoning Board of Appeals hearings aren't necessarily binding unless the Zoning Board of Appeals includes a condition making them so. We heard very clearly from our building commissioner that that did not happen, and that as far as the building commissioner is concerned, there is no question about the application for approval by the building department, and there is no question about the legitimacy of the request to operate some level of restaurant service in this hotel. Just want to make sure that's very clear to people.
Bernard.
Yeah, that seems to contradict what Polly Salko said. Did she respond to that?
Well, no, I don't think it contradicts what I said.
Yeah, I did not mean to contradict Polly.
No one could do that.
A restaurant is an allowed use, but the plans did not show a restaurant. It did not show seating. So at the very least, they would have to submit plans to, kind of rectify the situation and get those plans approved.
Just for the record, we actually have a building permit already, Polly, so the plans were actually approved, and it's not uncommon, hopefully Polly will agree with me. I do quite a bit of this. It's not uncommon for there kind of to be an area blocked off, and it might have said breakfast nook, the architect might have done that. But as we've gone along, and don't forget, this process was 3 years ago, and then everything got held up by COVID for the construction. And in that time period, we lost one person. We brought in Wagner. Wagner's like, here's my experience in Boston. Forget your breakfast nook. Have a little something there for the amenity that's more of a restaurant. If you're going to have a extended stay, people are going to want a little restaurant to eat there, to have a drink there, and it'll only help. So we have to listen to our consultants, and we changed that little breakfast nook area. But it wasn't a major change that, in my opinion, and I'll talk more to Polly about it, would trigger any modification of a permit.
Is it a 60-seat restaurant?
No, it's 40, I think, 20 outside and 20 inside.
16 total, and it's a very small operation. Again, it's to cater for our patrons at the hotel. It's an amenity. It's not something that we want to. We aim to bring business from the outside. There's a lot of competition in town. Very good restaurants around the Brookline area. The bar and restaurant kind of go together. Just to offer a meal, a simple but yet nice meal and a drink.
Yeah, that's fine, but as Mr. Allen knows, I do stamp the final plans approved, and the plans that I stamped showed a breakfast nook and not a restaurant. That's all I'm saying.
Absolutely. And ma'am, we do have the plans ready. We'll submit that to you. It's being carefully thought of.
May I ask another question?
John,
A question that I think is relevant to this. If it turns out this has to go back to the Zoning Board of Appeals because of the question that Polly just raised, are we taking this out of order tonight if we take up the matter of approving the alcohol license tonight? If this is in fact going to have to go back to the planning department?
You know, going back to the planning department does not necessarily mean going back to the Board of Appeals. Because I have final approval of the floor plans and the elevations. So I can approve, you know, changes to the floor plans that seem reasonable. And I have not talked to the building commissioner about this. He didn't mention it to me, and I just saw this a couple of days ago was going to be on the agenda.
Mike?
I have some questions that are probably best answered by Attorney Allen.
Mr. Allen,
Was there a question? Did I miss it?
I guess some of my members are, I think, growing uncomfortable about whether or not we are putting the cart before the horse. So.
There's not an issue to go back before the ZBA. I couldn't be more confident in that statement that we do not have to, first of all, it's an as of right use to begin with. And we didn't enlarge any area. There weren't any significant changes to the plan. This is something that changing breakfast nook to restaurant is something that would be, I mean, we've already got a building permit to do it. We've already started the building of it. So I'm not concerned at all that we have to go to the ZBA on it. I don't think Polly thinks we have to go to the ZBA on it, but what she's saying is, listen, the plans, she wants the final plans to match with the original plans, and then we have to go back to her and say, hey, Polly, we ended up doing this, much like, hey, they ended up moving the window 6 inches this way, and will you sign off on it? And that happens quite a bit, and Polly typically signs off on it as a kind of de minimis change. This isn't, we're not changing use in any way, and I don't think it's an issue. I don't know that I would, what would you want, a letter from the building commissioner saying we don't have to go back to the ZBA?
I think more verbal commitment that you'll send the final plans to Polly.
Oh, I have to. I can't get a CO without it, 100%. And if anybody thinks we have to go back to the ZBA, you can put a condition on it that if Polly feels we have to go to the ZBA, we'd go to the ZBA. And of course, if it got denied at the ZBA, then this vote would be nullified.
Okay.
But I would hate to continue this hearing for more time. I mean, this is maybe upsetting to a handful of people. It's upsetting to a handful of people on my end also. So I'd love to continue on.
Any other comments by select board members? This is a public hearing, so we will open it up to the public
Just
at
that
some point.
one question that I have.
Remind me what the question was, Mike.
Well, I haven't asked it yet.
Oh, okay, Mike.
So,
I didn't think you asked a question, Mike. I was wondering.
Bobby, you raised the concern that your client has that there may be some discrimination in terms of opposing what he's doing. When it comes to this board, that's just, please assure him that's not what we're about. We don't care where he comes from or anything of that sort, anything.
I made that clear. You don't have to tell me that. I understand.
What we are concerned about is that we have newspaper articles, which are admittedly anywhere from 4 to 8 years old, about his operations in Boston that are not complimentary, and you know that.
Yeah.
And so the thing that we're really interested in is what's changed in the way he operates his properties. Well, and that may be a question that you can't answer, but I hope you can shed some light on it because it's it's really the heart of what you're going to hear from people who are looking at those articles.
Well, I've represented him for over 10 years, Mike, so I'm very comfortable with talking about it. I mean,
Okay,
listen,
good.
and he is probably one of the largest owners of student housing in the city of Boston.
Yep.
There are a couple of institutions, a couple of very, very fine institutions that would be in significant problems if he wasn't able to rent out his entire buildings to those universities.
Right.
A lot of the times, and we've all grown up around here, you drive around August 31st, right? He's not the Brighton guy so much, but downtown Boston, you've got students leaving stuff out there. If you leave stuff out there, you get written up as the landlord. It's all the landlord's responsibility. If there's
let me just interrupt you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about in terms of the articles that talk about the time it takes to get repairs, if indeed they're ever made, those sorts of complaints. I'm not talking about the junk that the kids leave on the streets.
Yeah, I know, because that's what he's getting. He got written up a ton for leaving stuff out.
Oh, I'm sure all those little green slips are
for rodents, because, listen, when I was in college, sometimes I'd leave some food out on the counter, but I would say this, what has changed is, his kids are now starting to join with him as they get out of college. He's partnered with the city of Boston. This 5-year plan, it's really something, you should Google it for the city of Boston. It's really something that not a lot of landlords are willing to do, but he's been willing to do it. It's a pretty rigorous thing you have to go through, and you have to go through it every 5 years. He just updated his for the second time around for every one of his buildings. You can't just do one, you got to do them all. And he's done all his buildings, but leave that in the city. Mike, he owns 200 units here in the town of Brookline. And if it wasn't for him buying this hotel, and none of you would even know his name. He's lived here his whole life. He's raised his kids. His kids went to public school. He owns a ton in Brookline. He owns right next to you. He owns a building, right down the street from you. He owns a building. Ton of Beacon Street. He owns a lot of units in Brookline. And you check with the Brookline Public Health. You check with the building commissioner. Are there issues every now and then? Every landlord, but nothing significant that raises to the level that this board has ever had to address anything, or the Board of Health, or myself, who's been with him for 10 years, has ever had to address anything of any significance. So
Okay.
at least you can look at Brookline and what he's done in Brookline.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So this is a public hearing. Let's hear from members of the public.
The first person signed up for public comment is Jonathan Margolis. You've been promoted to a panelist. You can unmute and share your video if you're comfortable, and your 3 minutes will begin.
Thank you. What Mr. Allen just gave in response to Mike Sandman's question is the classic non-denial denial. If you've read the articles that were sent to you, you know that Anwar Faisal has a decades-long history of, to say the least, misbehavior, repeated, serious health, safety, and building code violations. Maybe not so much in Brookline, but certainly almost every place else he's been. Why would you expect that he's going to change his operation now? Now, I know that he's not directly involved in this project, supposedly. Why would we believe that he's not involved? He has not been a reputable businessman. Why should we believe that he's going to start now?
Well, if I may address.
No. You don't interrupt during public comment.
Thank you. Now, actions speak louder than words. Mr. Faisal's actions over decades show that he is not the kind of person who should be operating a hotel here. Now, you saw in the last 24 hours from Kate Poverman, the moderator, her statement that had she known that there would be a restaurant in this building, she would not have voted to grant a variance that was sought and was presumably necessary several years ago. Now, there's been a lot of talk around this, but I think you should consider that. I think that's a serious default here. I'm also interested that later on tonight, you're going to be discussing the rodent control problem. And I can see the potential, given how Anwar Faisal has operated in the past, for serious rodent problems from this hotel. And I know if that happens, it won't be the only business in Brookline. I'm concerned because I live down the street from this, and most of the serious rodent problems are in other parts of the town. But what's going to happen when there are problems with this hotel? Whether they're building code violations, sanitary code violations,
You have 30
problems with
seconds.
guests, what's going to happen? Will you pull the license? No. You'll start by negotiating, and then you're going to go and issue small penalties, if that, and these things will go on for years. And in a few years, when you're back here again, hearing about problems in this hotel, someone who looks a lot like me is going to be saying, "I told you so."
You've reached 3 minutes. The next person signed up for public comment is Bruce Levin. You've been promoted to a panelist. You can unmute and your 3 minutes will begin.
Other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, how was the play? Last time I saw Mr. Faisal, we were talking about a federal conviction. Oh, well, guess no answer to that. It just gets better and better. Going through, oh, by the way, wasn't a course in law school, but last time I thought about it, a breakfast nook does not mean dinner and drinks on the front lawn. But of all the stuff I've read about him, what I found most amusing in a sick sort of way is when Boston City Council Steve Murphy threatened to bring Mr. Faisal to City Hall in irons and chains. What happens is again and again and again, you see a little problem. He brings in the lawyers, he delays, he delays, he delays. Select Board Member Green asked, according to my notes, what's the problem of granting to Faisal everything he wants now, knowing we can revoke it someday if necessary? I would like to ask first, when was the last time something was revoked? And more importantly, once he has a license, due process kicks in, even a scoundrel has legal rights, and it becomes a real expense to try to get it back. I can't believe town council and the hardworking people in building have anything better to do than to constantly be going back and forth dealing with problems here. I would also like to mention that the more you read, the more you see him, Mr. Faisal, talking about, oh, poor me, I'm being discriminated against. That's happened many times. In 2008, more than 95 housing cases were filed about Faisal. On top of that, the city of Boston received 63 complaints in the last year, including squalid living conditions. Yesterday, I went up Harvard Street. There's a block between Cambridge Street and Brighton Ave. There's St. Herman's Church. There's the Alston Post Office. I saw 2 buildings owned by Alpha Management and went out to look. I felt physically repulsed. The shape they were in, no one should have to live in those conditions. Get in your car, take a drive by tomorrow, and tell me if in good conscience you can vote to let this guy do anything in this town.
You have 30 seconds.
I'd just like to point out that the wonderful Marriott went several years without alcohol and food licenses. The idea was we have Hamilton's, we have Prairie Fire, we have Granny Murphy's. There are so many places that can benefit by having the businessmen who stay there go out to eat there. And other than just a breakfast nook, it seems to me to be abusive an unnecessary and will only add to serious rat problems. And what I would like to see is a plan as how exactly the hotel plans to deal with that.
You've reached 3 minutes.
Thank you.
The next person signed up for public comment is Kate Poverman. You've been promoted to a panelist. You can unmute and your 3 minutes will begin.
Okay, I don't know why there's no picture. Start video. Okay, one thing I want to clarify immediately is that I did not say, I did not say that I would not have granted a variance had I known there was going to be a restaurant on the property. What the point I was trying to make is that the direct representation was made to the board that there would not be a restaurant in addition to other representations. So if that representation has changed, the issue is what else has changed. That said, when the project started, a skeleton crew of 5 or 7 people was planned, and the ZBA objected to that because that is not sufficient to staff a 122-room hotel. So changes were made to the plan that the petitioner agreed with. And you can see from the final order and from the way the project is described that it is a very robust plan for staffing. But I do have a question. The variance was based on parking and a change in the parking requirements, and I'm probably going to need Polly's help here. So I looked at the menu for the proposed restaurant and it looks amazing. So I find it difficult to think that it won't, or that you don't have a goal of attracting other people to the restaurant. So those people are going to need parking. And I'm wondering how that is going to be dealt with in the controlled parking that was allowed at the time the variance was granted.
Again, we're going to get through all of public comment before I ask the petitioner to address some of the comments and questions.
Okay, I would just like to know that answer. Thanks.
The next person signed up for comment is Susan Park. You've been promoted to a panelist. You can unmute and your 3 minutes will begin.
Thank you, Devin. Hi, my name is Susan Park, and I'm a town meeting member in precinct 17, which is the same precinct as where this hotel would be going up. And I've had numerous emails and calls from my constituents, and they have been very upset about the things that they've been reading. And the articles are not from 3 to 8 years ago. It's actually, the most recent one is November 17th of 2021 in City Life, and that was published last year. Some of the things that my constituents are concerned about is, again, that actions speak louder than words. They have said that Mr. Faisal has left many tenants deeply unhappy about their living situations, ignoring maintenance requests and raising rent. There's a lot of mold growing on walls. There's severe infestation of mice, cockroaches. Problems were fixed after complaints to Medford's health department. And so they got the health department involved. Also, Mr. Faisal he was also involved in many cases regarding housing, salary, and building code violations in buildings that he controls in Alston and elsewhere, because he has notably failed and or refused to flag the hotel that is to associate with the national chain and agreed to follow its rules and procedures, plus his past history. These are not good signs for the project if it is permitted to go forward. So as a town meeting member in precinct 17 and having been contacted by numerous people, I'm concerned that allowing this project to go ahead will result in substantial deterioration of the site, as a lot of these articles, including last year's articles, indicate. So, you know, I support my colleagues and I ask that you do not accept this application for innkeeper and the alcoholic beverage licenses. It's just really interesting, all the different emails, and you know, I am the messenger of my constituents, and I hope you will really think about the people who are coming out to that are very concerned about this. Thank you.
The next person signed up for public comment is Barry Black. You've been promoted to a panelist. You can unmute and share your video if you're comfortable. Your 3 minutes will begin.
Hello, I can't see anybody. There I am. Okay. My wife and I attended the April 25, 2019 Brookline Planning meeting where the planning board heard and approved the application to convert the existing building into a limited service hotel. The model for this hotel was stated to be as a boutique self-service hotel, and the hotel was to have kitchenettes in each of the units. Listening to this description, and unfortunately, I didn't have full knowledge of what limited service meant at the time, at least by Brookline standards, and per the internet, it was not understood by me at least, and I'm sure many people, that a restaurant and bar would even be a possibility there. With proposed change, both the bar and restaurant would be open for long hours past midnight. Food delivery trucks would add traffic to our already overburdened street. Is it intended that they unload in back or out front? How is that going to be handled? This first floor restaurant and bar would undoubtedly produce a significant amount of trash and waste that must be disposed of with great care so as not to attract unwanted pests such as rats and cockroaches. Unfortunately, it's our understanding, and listening to the people here probably is 100% accurate, from published reporting that the principle behind this application has a poor track record regarding housing and building code violations. If these violations were to occur at 30 Webster Street, it could result in significant harm, not only to Webster Street, but to Coolidge Corner, and ultimately to the town of Brookline. When people think of Brookline, perhaps the most recognized and admired area of the town is Coolidge Corner. Promoting rats and other pests to infest Coolidge Corner, therefore, would negatively impact the reputation of the entire town of Brookline. The potential cost of this proposal is significantly too great. This request for a restaurant and bar should be rejected. Another thing I wanted to just ask a question is, what is the process for communicating these requests by businesses for approvals of changes? It seems that very little time was provided to the community for providing comments on this request. Thank you for your time.
The next person signed up for comment is Adele Pike. You've been promoted to a panelist. You can unmute and your 3 minutes will begin.
My name is Adele Pike. I live at 25 Marion Street, and I overlook 30 Webster from the back. I would comment that the building the windows have made a significant improvement, even though they were noisy going in. They've made a significant improvement. My concern has to do with how many liquor licenses is enough. Sort of the block surrounding this hotel. By my count, you can obtain alcoholic imbibement at the Marriott, at Hamilton, with 2 outside dining areas. Prairie Fire was now their very large beer garden that takes up half of the public parking lot. at Lemongrass, at Grania O'Malley's with 2 outside eating spaces. The Hot Pot restaurant that replaced Chef Chow's, I believe, retained that liquor license. And so it strikes me that there is ample opportunity for people to get a drink and enjoy at many of the restaurants that we try and patronize and are trying to help recover from the pandemic. The other question I have or concern I have is on the select board meeting agenda. Part of the application is an application for an entertainment license, which consists of radio, recorded music, television, and live music Thursday through Sunday, 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. That live music is coming right into my bedroom. And so I did not hear that mentioned. I went in the applicant's presentation, they talked about radio, recorded music, and television. Live music, I think adds a different dimension. I think there are some issues around caring and respecting for the neighbors that presents. Thank you.
The next person signed up for comment is Chi Wu. You've been promoted to a panelist. You can unmute and your 3 minutes will begin.
Good evening and thanks, Devin. My name is Chi Wu. I'm a town meeting member in Precinct 7 and I live on Marion Terrace, which is near 30 Webster. My neighbors and I are very concerned about this hotel and about this license. We have a significant rat problem in our part of Precinct 7. We are next to the Care One nursing facility. And as you know, we are abutting Colonel Floyd. And when that's demolished, the rat problem is going to be even worse. The last thing we need is another facility that's going to add to the rat problem. The concerns raised about the applicant as a landlord are very relevant here. If the problem with his properties is due to lack of sanitary conditions, trash, and other problems, obviously he's going to have issues, or there are going to be issues about whether the hotel is going to be run in a sanitary manner to avoid having contributions to the rat problem. I didn't realize about the music, and I'm glad the last public commenter raised it. When the Marriott has music on Thursday afternoons, we hear it. And it's fine because it's 5 to 7 or whatever, but music till 10 p.m. at night is going to be very disturbing. And finally, I'd like to say, as a person of color, that the idea that this is all due to racism is kind of insulting. Okay, being a person of color does not give you a pass at being a bad landlord or a bad operator. There are very legitimate concerns raised by multiple journalists in multiple articles. Thank you.
At this time, there are 40 virtual attendees and 2 in person. The next person signed up for public comment is Regina Frawley.
Thank you. Regina Frawley, town meeting member from Precinct 16. Just a few things. I also, as Ms. Poverman noted, looked at the menu. I don't know if any of you did. It is high end. It is gourmet, including racks of lamb, etc. The cocktails are very high priced. That's not an amenity. So I'm uncomfortable that Mr. Wagner Quintillo, I'm sorry, I may not pronounce his name correctly, keeps calling it just an amenity. It's not. It's meant to be a restaurant to bring people in. That may be perfectly fine if it were in fact approved at the ZBA in an open discussion with the public. Apparently that has not happened. I am surprised at the indignation of Robert Allen that a citizen, a butter, dared to go to the public meetings. It was said with that tone of indignation. Come on. This is what public service is all about, and he well knows it. So don't buy into the indignation tone. He also thinks that it doesn't need to go to the ZBA. You're doing a warrant article from the zero emissions. And it, in this very room, the question I raised was, what do you do if you move even a little bit of the pipe? You have to go to the ZBA, which is a very costly. I checked with somebody from planning and they said it was $1,500 to go to the ZBA. I don't know if that's accurate, but that's what I was told. What he wants to do is so substantially bigger than what the original plans were, that it's really kind of insulting to us to say, no, we don't need to go, and Polly well knows it. Polly knows her job. She's told you what the job requires. Also, he said our team, and he mentioned 3 names, Mr. Merther, Faisal, Wagner, and his alternate manager, Ms. Kavanaugh. He said they've done 3 hotels. Is that accurate?
He will address this at the end.
I
of
can't
public-
hear.
The petitioner and his attorney will address this
Okay.
after public comment.
In fact, the application that I looked at, written out and filled out by Mr. Merther, Faisal said he has no experience whatsoever, has never held an innkeeper or been involved in innkeeper licenses. So he may have misspoke, leading you to believe that this is a team effort. And finally, and that's not true.
You have
And
30
finally,
seconds.
what is the commitment of this contracted management, which does appear to be qualified and a good manager? But if you're not happy, as many people have not been with dealing with the Faisals, what is your commitment? Are you contractually obligated to stay for a period of time, and what is that time? Thank you.
The next person signed up for public comment is Mark Mazur. You've been promoted to a panelist. You can unmute and share your video if you're comfortable. Your 3 minutes will begin.
Well, thank you for letting me speak. I'm a resident of 20 Webster Street, adjacent to the hotel. I think in my view, the issues that have been raised about this owner are sufficient for us to pause before we grant them a liquor license. I think the only prudent action by the board would be to see this operate the hotel for a while before we grant a liquor license. And I urge the board to do that, to let them operate the hotel, see how they operate it, see what if there are any problems. And then if there are no problems, fine, grant them a liquor license. But let's see them operate the hotel first. Thank you.
The next person signed up for public comment is Mashur Rubia. You've been promoted to a panelist. You can unmute and your 3 minutes will begin.
Not too far from 30 Webster. I'm in favor of the liquor license. I'm in favor of the hotel. I have family who comes and visit me frequently, and they have a very hard time finding places to stay. Sometimes we're left with nothing but hello.
Hi,
Hello?
we can hear you.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so we're left with nothing but trying to search for Airbnbs around the neighborhood. Like I said, I'm in favor of a hotel, and I don't see why there is any pause on a liquor license. Granted, there's liquor licenses handed out all over the town, and business is good no matter where it is. That's my view of what should be done in regards to this 30 Webster liquor license. Thank you.
At this time, there are 41 attendees virtually and 2 in person. No one has used the hand raise or Q&A feature to indicate that they'd like to make a comment at this time.
So did you want to make a comment, sir? You're going to need to come up to the mic.
I just wanted to give
you
my
identify
support
yourself?
to, my name is Ira Dobrow. I live on 73 Fuller Street. I think that a lot of the objections that have been raised are really valid. In particular, we don't really need another restaurant in that location. There are plenty of places right around the corner. And the idea, I live in an area where the rodent problem is very real. I don't see any reason why we want to add another restaurant to be operated by someone with a dubious track record. And I support the idea that we go with the hotel and let the operators earn the privilege of liquor license. That's all.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to hear from Attorney Allen. A lot of things were brought up, and I just want to see what you would like to address.
Well, listen, what Mr. Mazur said, I've sat in your seats before, and oftentimes I've said, hey, let's let that person prove himself, and we're willing to take that challenge. Understand this restaurant, this liquor license, it's not something we're in to make money on. It is literally used for an amenity for the guest. We weren't anticipating people coming off the street. I'm trying to say this in a way that is approvable to Ms. Frowley. So hopefully you see the sincerity in what I'm saying. But I'm fine with holding off on the liquor license. We will go back to just, we would like to have a common vic because we were gonna, even if it's just a breakfast nook, we're fine with the breakfast nook there. I will tell you, $20 million has been invested to this building. I was really appreciative that Ms. Pike acknowledged that there's been some changes to the exterior of the building. It really looks great. The interior looks even better, and people will really appreciate it. And we're fine to prove ourselves. This is going to be a boutique restaurant that this town's going to be proud of. If the town feels in its wisdom that the restaurant isn't a right thing to start with, then fine. Let's not have the liquor license. Let's not have the restaurant. We'll stick with the breakfast nook. We'll prove ourselves, and we'll come back before the board. And all those folks that are sitting there now will hopefully say, boy, were we wrong. That's a wonderful place we're running there. So if the board has concerns about the liquor license and the restaurant, again, it's not something that is on the scale of importance as the in-holder licenses, for sure.
The other two things that I recall, Ms. Frawley brought up the collective team experience. I'm not sure if you can address that.
Yeah, it was accurate when it was filled out, but since that time, two hotels were purchased down in the Cape area, one in Yarmouth, one in Falmouth. The Falmouth license has already been issued, liquor license issued, restaurant common vic license issued. The one in Yarmouth is still pending, going through the approval process.
And there was one more thing.
The other thing related to, I think, Ms. Poverman, perhaps, Madam Chair, and I think it was directed towards Polly relative to vehicles, and that may be moot if I'm taking the.
Oh, no, it was the live music.
Oh, you know, with the live music, I didn't mention it because honestly, if it was filled out, it slipped by me. You know, Wagner and his lamb chops and his live music, I think got a little carried away, but there's no, we don't need the live music.
Okay, Mike.
Thanks. I have a couple of questions for Mr. Wagner, if I may. And Bobby, it's not to slight you, but I think he has the expertise that we need for the specific to the hotel industry.
Slight away.
Yeah. Mr. Wagner?
Yes, sir.
I wonder if you could tell us what differentiates an extended stay hotel and how that squares with the term that you used about this being a boutique hotel as opposed to being a hotel that has a flag of one of the national chains.
Okay. So two parts of that question, right? The extended stay hotel. It's a place that you call it a second home, a home away from home. And the extended stay is not just the duration of your stay, but it's also a place that caters for your specific needs. We, when I came into this project, we saw opportunity with the clientele going to the hospitals in the area.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's a difficult time. If you're going to a hospital, it's never a good time. And we want to be that second home, right? We want to be different than a corporate hotel or a brand hotel. We want the iris is a flower that resembles the Brookline Gardens. And that was the idea. We want to be a happy place in a difficult time. We don't want to be a high volume check-in, check-out place. That segues to having a little cute restaurant that is not a moneymaker. And we're totally fine with the opportunity of running a hotel business first, improving ourselves. But the restaurant is there not to attract a crowd. We have 119 rooms, and hopefully when it's busy, I'm gonna have my hands full catering for those people. I'm not gonna be able to physically 40 tables inside, 20. We have 3 good months, 4 good months, and outside seating. It's just not gonna happen. I'm not gonna compete with chefs in the neighborhood. In regards to music, again, if you look at the application, was acoustic, soft music, no bands, no drums, was just something soothing to those people who we plan to cater, to stay, to create a.
Right. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I mean,
That's fine.
really, in the interest of time, I want to make sure that we stay on the question
Sure.
that I have. So you've explained what an extended stay hotel is. I mean, and you mentioned boutique hotel, and to me, a boutique hotel is something a little different, but okay. My question is, how do you get, recognizing that your market is people who are coming to the hospitals to stay, or they have family or whatever to stay. How do you attract business to a hotel that doesn't have a flag? Where it is, there are 4 flagged hotels in town, and the Arcadian, is actually managed by a company called Highgate, which has 530 properties around the world.
Yes,
So
sir.
they're a fairly substantial operation, and presumably they know what they're doing by not having a flag. But how would you get business as essentially a solo operation?
Right. So speaking of the Arcadian, right, there used to be a flag there, and they decided to do away with the flag because there's only so much you can do for your client, and there is a huge expense. All those decisions we made is based on studies that we made of Brookline specifically. If you look at the hotel business in terms of franchise, it's just declining. The franchise model is declining. We have the location. It's a great location. Center Brookline, beautiful. We do not need a flag to attract business to that location. You need a flag when you're on the side of a highway, right? And you want a consistent bland product. You want to make sure it's clean, basically, in and out. We're not it. We want to be different, and hence the boutique hotel term. We want to be a soft place, a place that we come back. If you're going to a
Right, but I'm interested in where you go for, where do you how do you present yourselves to the world so that you can attract those people?
Please be specific with your question as much as you can, and I'll limit my answer. We're going to do a very strong and specific marketing campaign, and it's all online. It's all new. What the power of that brand, if that's your question, declined in the past 10 years because they lost to what's called the online travel agencies, which is Expedia, which is Booking.com. People are realizing now that more than just a hotel room, you want to experience. And that's what we're selling. We're selling the experience. We're selling Brookline. We're selling the gardens of Brookline. We're not just another hotel on the side of the road. So if they're looking for the cheapest place to be, and we're going to be attractively priced, because we're not going to have to pay the franchise bill, right? But if you're looking for, again, a haven near a hotel, a personal service for your long stay, if I want to get to know every client, that's us. And we're going to use a lot of digital marketing. And that's key. That's the key right there. We're not going to see advertising.
Yeah, okay. I understand what you're saying. I go to TripAdvisor and Expedia myself, so I understand.
Yes,
okay,
sir.
thank you. Yeah, thanks for the answer.
Thank you.
Any other comments by select board members? I know that, hold on, Regina, because I think we do have one more person from the public who we.
I
haven't
just want to
heard from.
follow up on my question when you can.
Okay. Let's hear from that person who has indicated that they would like to speak, and then I'll get back to Regina.
The next person signed up for public comment is Mo Nam. You've been promoted to a panelist. You can unmute and your 3 minutes will begin.
Hi there, my name is Mo. I live in Brookline for the last 35 years. I have seen different management, different landlords. I've been living with Alpha Management, under Alpha Management for the last 10, 12 years. I'll tell you, I've been received the service and the kindness and the timely manner of service. I'm very impressed. And I do work for Toyota, and that's our motto is provide the perfect service to the public. And that's what I have received. So my recommendation, give people a chance. Probably they will provide my fellow Brookline residents the same service. And I think they deserve it. Thank you very much.
Regina.
Yeah, I asked if I may call you Wagner. It's a lot easier for me to pronounce it. What is your contractual time frame? You know, I've been here for 22 years, and when major companies come, they bring their best people forward, and they make a very good impression. And in no time at all, very short order, they are no longer there. And one of the things the chair has said she doesn't enjoy these licensing hearings. Well, that's one of the things I observe that I don't enjoy, is seeing how quickly the turnover is, and you're constantly having to approve the alternate managers. So what is your contractual agreement with this hotel? How long is it? And as Bobby Allen noted, there was a previous one and he's not here. So I'm wondering what yours is and how long you can commit to staying.
Okay, so.
Do you feel comfortable answering that question?
Yes, I'm very comfortable answering any questions, to the point that I might omit something that's personal. So I'm gonna stick with the commitment that I have. I mean to stay. My commitment is long-term. I wanna just say something. I have 28 years of hotel experience. I understand what's going on here in regards to Mr. Faisal. Before I joined in, I did my research. I actually have job offers in other places, and I see this as a huge opportunity for me to grow professionally, to make this hotel a flagship. And with his financial status, I want to grow. I want to make that brand grow. I want the Irish to be the first of many hotels. That's my commitment. In terms of contract, it's more of a personal question. I'd rather not discuss that, but I'm here to stay. I want to stay at least 10 years, and it's going to be up to, there is no job guarantee, but your success. So I wouldn't say that. It's not really, I can only do my part, and I do that every day, right? I might not be successful, but I will try hard every day. And I've been successful throughout my hotel experience. And I will just live like that. I don't want to exceed my time. I tend to talk too much. I made notes of the answers that are the questions that are brought up here, and I run out of paper space. So please shoot away any questions that you might have.
Well, we do have a question from another board member. Miriam?
This is actually for Chaz and Joe, I think. I mean,
ask your question.
Thank you. So I'm just wondering, do we actually have any legal grounds by which to deny this license?
I don't want to give legal advice in a public forum.
Okay. Joe?
So I've been paying attention, but if I miss anything, please, ask me if you have a particular idea. But, the idea that the manager will not commit to a particular time frame, you can't use that. The idea that, the landowner, not the license holder, just the landowner might have problems in other communities, even though he doesn't have any problems here in this community, you wouldn't be able to use that as a reason to deny the license. What I heard about this has to go back to the ZBA. That's not what I heard from Polly, that she needs to just look at the plan that's already been approved by the building commissioner And that would probably be an administrative action as opposed to a board hearing or something like that. So if that's your concern, you can issue the innkeeper license on the condition that final plans are going to be, submitted. I wouldn't really worry about that because as Attorney Allen says, he won't get a certificate of occupancy if that doesn't happen. So that check is going to be done anyway. That there's too many other alcohol licenses in this neighborhood that you wouldn't be able to use as a basis for denial. The restaurant I heard was as of right use. So you may be able to, have gone through the special permit process or the variance process and then go through again and ask for something that's as of right. There's no problems with that. I heard that there was an oral statement by an applicant in a hearing. That's not enforceable unless it's included in the actual decision. Did I get all of them, or am I missing any that you had questions about?
I think you're covering enough of and giving us a framework by which to try to judge and weigh a lot of the stuff that we've heard here this evening. Miriam, is that accurate?
Yeah, that was very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from select board members? Mike?
I'm just looking at, I think it's j10hotels.com, which is where the organization that I presume owns the Holiday Inn Express that you managed. And it's a pretty substantial organization. It manages a number of flag hotels, actually. Marriott Courtyard, Comfort Inn, Quality Inn, Fairfield by Marriott, Home Suites, and a Holiday Inn Express, obviously, that he worked at. So for whatever it's worth, Wagner has, he has very significant experience with a substantial hotel management company, and I guess, sir, you have heard the concerns that people have expressed in the community, and some of those concerns are mirrored here. And I think it would be appropriate to give him one last opportunity to make some comments about his management approach to hotels. Would that be okay?
Well, we've heard from him a lot this evening.
A lot.
And we do have other business.
I'm
So
sorry.
sorry, Wagner.
No, I'd love the chance,
On a hotel.
in person at some point and having a coffee in the corner. I'd love to talk about hotel business. No doubt.
I think it's important for the board to talk amongst itself now.
Yeah.
Any comments from board members? John?
I feel ready to move the innkeeper license and the victual license, but not the alcohol beverages license.
Okay. I also want to disclose that I'm going to be abstaining out of an abundance of caution for perceived conflict of interest. I am a tenant in an Alpha Management managed property. So I will abstain. Any other comments? Bernard?
Yeah, I think we're ready to vote, like John said, excluding the alcohol beverage license, which they have agreed to defer. I guess I'd also like to make the point that, as town council noted, we really can't, base our decision on, the property owner's history, which is pretty bad. There are reasons for his difficulties renting out to students in Boston. I understand that, but that really can't be part of our consideration during this test period. We can monitor the operation of the hotel, get a sense of whether he's going to continue to be a good business here in town. And we do have the authority to take away the license and, giving him due process rights to hearing and all that. But we do have a lot of power to do that at some point. Yes, like someone in the public comment section said, that requires a lot of time. But, that's just the country we live in. can't snatch away someone's license without due process and without going through a lot of steps. So I think we're ready.
And actually, Bernard, you were on the board. I recall a situation where we did revoke an alcohol license. It
Oh, yeah,
was
we've done it.
almost 3 years ago. There was a restaurant where the chef was secretly recording women in the bathroom.
Oh, God, that was a horrible.
And we certainly revoked their liquor license.
And we gave them all, due process,
Mhm.
to the hilt.
Yeah.
In a situation that was way worse than anything that I've ever seen.
Okay, so I understand that the board would like to move forward with the application of the in-holder license and then also the common vic. And
And what about
Madam
the
Chair,
music?
could I just,
alternate manager and the entertainment license minus the live music. Mr. Allen,
I spoke too quickly. You picked it up.
no worries. It's more a mental,
understand.
mental note for me. And to make sure that this is not objectionable to any select board members. What I
No, I mean, the only question I have is whether whether the operator would go ahead and make use of the common vic license without the alcohol, because that is a source of profit and it's an attraction for a great many guests.
Well, if they do any food service at all, I think it's,
We need even for breakfast.
Yeah,
I think
it's
so.
sort of like the Hampton Inn model.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
So clarification for me, will the seating, it says seating will consist of 60 inside and 20 outside. Is that an accurate description of the seats?
It's more than breakfast, no.
Yeah.
If I
Should I do a condition based on, the plans that get approved before the building occupancy is issued?
Yeah.
We could
We're
do
fine
that.
with that.
Okay. That's how I'll handle it. Any objection to the operating hours, 6 AM to 11 PM?
For
Without-
breakfast nook,
Yeah,
6 AM to 11 AM.
11 PM.
11 PM.
Yeah,
Yeah, I have no objection.
yeah. At this time, it does not include alcohol. Okay. I will move approval of the application of a new hold on, the application of, a new common vic license for EK Webster. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, thank you, Chaz. I move approval of the application of a new in-holder license for EK Webster Corp. doing business as Iris Hotel Boston at 30 Webster Street. All those in favor? Bernard,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Miriam,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
and the chair abstains. I will move approval of the application of a new common victular license for EK Webster Corporation doing business as Iris Hotel Boston at 30 Webster Street. Proposed operating hours of operation will be Sunday through Saturday, 6 AM to 11 PM. Seating will depend upon plans to be submitted and reviewed by planning staff prior to the building occupancy permit being issued by the building department. Okay. All those in favor? Bernard,
Aye.
Aye.
Miriam,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
and the chair abstains. I move approval of the application of alternate manager Elena Kavanaugh for EK Webster Corporation doing business as Iris Hotel Boston at 30 Webster Street. All those in favor? Bernard,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Miriam,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
and the chair abstains. And finally, I move approval of the application of an entertainment license, which will consist of radio, recorded music, and television Saturday through Sunday, 12 p.m. to 11 p.m. All those in favor? Bernard,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Miriam,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
and the chair abstains. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
All right, I'm making my move
Okay.
to my house to feed my children.
Yes. Oh,
Sigal, it's not that I don't need to hear from you. I read the memos and I will be back in 10 minutes, 15
okay.
most.
And I'll let you know how Happy Girl, what was it?
Oh, yeah.
We're revisiting Happy Girl Bakery.
Oh, they
goes.
coming now?
Yeah.
Should I leave after that? I can leave after that.
Are you sure? Like it's 9 p.m. right now.
I ordered their food already.
Okay, let's bring up John Goodman and Nicole Walsh. I hope this is John Goodman. Like John Goodman.
I did also.
The John Goodman.
I did also find their application in the packet and read it. So
Okay.
I do know what it is about.
Okay.
But if they don't come soon.
Hello, is this okay?
Yes, it is.
Okay, great. Yes, no, unfortunately not the John Goodman you're hoping for.
Oh, virtual background, maybe?
Right.
Just let them know I'll come try. it.
Start video.
So if you just want to introduce yourself and describe what you're seeking for this evening and try to keep it short.
Yes, definitely. So my husband and I own, can you see us? Does that matter?
Or not.
Okay.
Whatever, either way.
Anyway, my husband and I
No,
own.
but it's a reason to visit.
Yes. We own Clear Flower Bread, which operates under Happy Girl Bakery. I'm the Happy Girl Baker. And we are had the opportunity and had right to refusal for the space next door, which was a former laundromat. Unfortunately, it was very poorly managed. So we are very excited that they have offered this space to us. We've always wanted to sort of expand our beverage pairings with our pastries and bread. So we are hoping to have a coffee bar in addition to mostly just more production kitchens so we can stop selling out of croissants at 10 in the morning. So it's really just sort of, wanting to add to what we already do. However, we're not connecting the physical retail spaces, which is why we're having to sort of apply for another license.
Excellent. You actually addressed my personal question, which is I go there so often for your chocolate croissants, but you run out. So
Yes, we do. And we are on track to be doing more and more.
excellent. Any questions from select board members? I don't think this is a public hearing. So, but are there any members of the public who have indicated that they want to speak? Seeing none. Any further discussion or questions by board members? This seems pretty straightforward. And it is a very well-liked, very well-patroned local business.
Well, thank you. We're happy to be continuing the institution.
Great. Okay, so at this time, I will move approval of the application for a food vendor license for Happy Girl Bakery, doing business as Clear Flower Coffee at 180 Thorndike Street. Hours of operation will be Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m., Saturday through Sunday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. All those in favor? Bernard?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Thank you so much and good luck.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much
See
for
you there.
squeezing us in.
Okay, Rodent Control Action Plan.
Last.
Rats.
Rats.
Thank you. Let me get here. I want to say we're joined tonight by the head of the departments of Public Works and Health, Aaron Galentine and Sigal Reese, who are the co-architects together with several other Brookline departments of a comprehensive rodent control action plan. And their efforts and their team's efforts over the last 4 and change weeks to develop this plan, find a workable solution to operationalize it now as opposed to in the future, devote appropriate funds from a sustainable source for this that protects the town's overall budgeting process has been truly remarkable. So thank you to both of those department heads and to all of their staff and to everyone who has contributed to this on a compressed time frame to come up with a solution that I think is comprehensive, modeled after successful practices in other areas, and has the potential to really both bear fruit early and give us the data necessary to continue combating this, emergent rodent problem in impacted areas across town, both now as we enter into a more dormant period in the winter and in the spring. The goal, the proof will be in the spring. Do we have a reduced rodent population, and what can we do to combat that? But we will have the resources at our disposal to allocate and reallocate for that purpose. Just for the public's awareness, and this memo is on page 570, begins at 576 of the packet for this meeting today. In the immediate term, which is to say, really for most of these activities, it will be 0 to 2 months, pending obviously the ability to contractually get involved with some of these entities, but for others up to 6 months. The action plan proposed by the department heads recommends immediately engaging the services of a pest control specialist to bring on board smart traps and technology to identify rodent hotspots while bringing the population down. So both an exploratory effort to find where they are, but also an effort that will result in decreasing the population merely by putting the traps out there. Engaging the services of a food safety consultant, as we talked about earlier. One of the major issues here that we've identified as a potential driver in the rodent population is increased outdoor dining and increased use of outdoor spaces in general that has resulted in trash overflow. Bringing on this consultant will not only help us hone our regulations in a better way, but will also free up enforcement. Having a consultant on board who can provide enforcement support is crucial to then freeing up our staff to focus our attentions on that front. Together with the information technology department, the departments have been working to bring online a dedicated one-stop public website for rodent resources. This is modeled after successful sites elsewhere, such as the one in Somerville, that has been crucial to provide both education to the public in terms of resources available and a reporting outlet using the Brook Online back end. And we want to bring that online by November 15th. We want to conduct community outreach. We want to put door hangers on doors in areas where there's non-compliance or rodent sightings to indicate to people that not only are we seeing it and we're citing it, but to provide them with actions that they can take to reduce the population. We will review and revise the town's solid waste regulations, and we will purchase 5 big belly trash compactors, which will provide closed trash, public trash disposal in high trafficked areas. I know people have talked about a longer term. In the longer term, hopefully financed by, again, depending on the budget priorities in FY24, we're looking at purchasing a small trash packer, hiring 2 new staff members, an inspectional services and code enforcement supervisor for the health department, and an operator for the small trash packer, as well as seeking additional big belly trash cans as necessary, or trash compactors as necessary, depending on what the need is in those areas. We look forward to working together with you, the select board, to determine your priorities in this area and ensure that we are managing this rodent population both in the immediate term and the long term in an appropriate way. And again, I want to thank both Commissioner Galantine and Director Reese, who are here to answer any questions that you may have on this. Hopefully we will have a vote from you to move regarding the reallocation of American Rescue Plan Act funds previously allocated for COVID testing and testing sites to rodent control, which we believe is an ARPA eligible expense.
Thank you so much, Chaz. Any comments or questions by select board members? I just want to acknowledge that both Sigal Reese and Aaron Galantine are department heads of very large departments in a very large municipality. And they did this over and above
Yes.
their day-to-day responsibilities. So for that, I am eternally grateful, not only as a board member, but as a resident. Bernard?
Yeah, very, very good report. I mean, really explained what we're proposing to do and how we're going to do it. Now we are repurposing some health money that was funded by ARPA to this program. And I think it says in here, but it's important for the community to know that that is not really detracting from the needs with respect to COVID that we have and will probably be having as we go into the wintertime.
Certainly, I would ask Sigal Reese to step in, just because I know she's given some thought to this question.
Good evening, Sigal Reese, Director of Public Health and Human Services. Yes, we have reserved some of the contingency funds for any unforeseen needs that we might have, but we did take a portion of it and reallocate it. I would say we unexpectedly continue to get tests from the state, the at-home test kits. So that's been a welcome service, and we continue to distribute those out into the community. So that has sort of alleviated some of the possibly anticipated funding we would have needed for that. And the second thing is, with the shift to at-home antigen testing, I don't see a future need for a large PCR testing site, which would be really that big expense if we did need it. So we have reserved some for any unforeseen future of COVID. As we know, we can't really predict it and what's going to happen with it, but that I do think that we can reallocate these funds and also be able to meet our unforeseen COVID needs.
John.
I just want to say a word of thanks to a lot of people in Brookline. I want to thank them for their persistence, but I also want to thank them for their patience. I would say it was over a year ago that little did we know it at the time, but the very beginnings of a problem was coming to our attention that we would find out over the course of the next several months isn't just a problem on one street, isn't just a problem in one neighborhood. It's a problem in many, many neighborhoods, most of them surrounding commercial areas. The first I was aware of this came from some people on Littell Road who called up literally in a panic. I mean, in sort of a state of disbelief that they were seeing rats persistently in their neighborhood, and there was even a person who had seen a rat in their kitchen, and that is not a pleasant experience. And the problem wasn't just that they were seeing rats in their neighborhood. The problem was they didn't seem to think anything was being done about it. And it was because of the persistence of people in reporting, raising the issue, et cetera, that a lot of very, very good and capable administrative staff in the town got on the case, and they got on the case in a way that we're seeing the end result tonight. And I'll also give credit to some folks who took this up as a town meeting issue, and that also spurred even greater action than might be their normal response from people at town hall. That's how it works. Make your concerns known, be persistent, but as I say, trust that if you speak to enough people and if you stay at it, there will be this response. And I'm really glad to see the response that our staff have put together. So thank you to those staff.
Mike?
Yeah, I want to say thank you. Also, Erin's not on camera, but I want to say thank you for bringing her staff down to look at the situation on Marshall Street. And I know, Sigal, that you and Erin are working on regulations regarding dumpsters and making them more secure. So I think that will help, and I would encourage you to get that. If that needs to come back to us, then I think we'll receive that very favorably. I've received, I'm sure other select board members have as well, a number of letters, emails from people, and they've said, I pay X number of $1,000s in taxes and so forth. And so me too. and I had a rat literally run across my feet as I was going up the steps in front of the condominium building that I live in on Sewell Avenue. It's very disturbing to see that. No matter who you are or how much you pay in taxes, whether you live in a mansion or you live in public housing, we owe the same level of attention and concern about public health. And I just want to say that I would appreciate it personally if people would refrain from referring to their financial situations. That's not the point. We have an obligation to do what we can with this, and we will. But let's remember that everybody has the same set of rights, and we owe everyone the same attention.
I will wade into this. There's a lot about this problem that reminds me of transportation. And I bring it up because a lot of things are counterintuitive and things are not always as related as they may seem. And the role to play for the government is not as isn't as much as some people would like it to be. So I've been a little frustrated, more so that we all have a role to play with how we discard our trash. I've definitely seen an uptick of people working from home, and so, you know, trash is overflowing, and people are not always great about putting it out after the certain time that is allowable by our bylaw, and then picking it up after it's been collected. That being said, the town does have the responsibility to enforce and to actually like step up enforcement when there are repeat offenders. So I really thank the departments for coming together and outlining something that is within our control as a town. So those are my thoughts. Any other questions or comments? It looks like, is there only one motion here? Yes. Okay. So I will move the reallocation of $200,000 previously approved in the ARPA COVID maintenance budget as follows: reducing the health COVID testing line item by $100,000 from $449,520 to $349,520, reducing the health COVID testing site line item by $100,000 from $162,500 to $62,500, and inserting a new line item, Health and Department of Public Works Rodent Control Action Plan, with a budget amount of $2,000.
200,000.
Oh, thank you, 200,000.
It's important. But
Yes,
the cut.
all those in favor. Bernard,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
and I know Miriam would be an aye, but technically she's not here. She's in transit. So the chair votes aye. Thank you so much.
I'm here. Aye.
Oh, okay. Miriam votes aye. Make
Alright.
sure that gets into the record. Great. Okay. So we are moving into warrant article public hearings that were originally scheduled for 8:15. We're just an hour behind.
We still have the budget.
Yes.
Good evening.
Good evening, Melissa.
You should have in your packet a memo from me outlining the changes that we are making for the budget amendment this year. Typically, we have changes in state aid to address and then TNC funds, but this year got a lot on our agenda around the budget amendment. So the first item that we're going to be doing is realizing additional revenue coming off the state budget. We typically start with the governor's budget and then wait until the final budget and make adjustments at this town meeting. We did move to the Ways and Means version of the budget through the budget process. And so now there's additional capacity coming through the final budget. We also looked at local receipts and made some adjustments based on what we had seen the year close in and then year-to-date activity as well. So we felt comfortable at making some adjustments around that. As you may recall, we did have an unbalanced budget in May, so we need this November special town meeting to make sure that we come in balance with all of our adjustments. We previously talked under a different warrant article around the establishment of an opioid stabilization fund. That fund is not in effect until fiscal 24. So we are recognizing $60,000 approximately of opioid settlement funds coming through as general fund revenue, and we'll be allocating that to the Department of Public Health. There's a supporting memo in your packet describing the use of those funds as well. The board had appropriated some fees around the issue of needing to publish certain planning advertisements in the Boston Globe. And so in order to allocate those funds to the planning department, we need to make an adjustment. There are recommendations around the use of the transportation network funds, that's TNC funds that are coming from our Uber and Lyft rides. The town gets a piece of every ride that originates in Brookline. And so there's recommendations around the use of those funds. We also are looking to appropriate funds for community preservation, specifically for the statutory buckets as voted by the Community Preservation Act Committee. This committee was not in place in time to do this in May, so we'll need to get it done in November. Then you also have a supporting memo talking about some issues around 2 existing park projects and the request for additional bond authorization for each of those park projects. And then we also are looking to accelerate the bond schedule for engine number 4 in order to reduce the amount of time now that it takes 2 years to build the engine instead of 4. So the memo goes into greater detail on the particular request. I'm still refining a couple of the numbers. So next week I'll have a final vote ready for you. But if there are any questions around these issues or items, I'm happy to address them to the extent that I can and then follow up next week if there's anything that is not covered here. I think that Erin and Skal are likely hanging on for any questions around their items as well.
Any questions from select board members? Bernard?
Yeah, I have a question that is mainly asking you to clarify something. How much is going to be available to be distributed through the town school partnership? It looks
Sure.
like
So the way that I described it in the memo is that essentially we have 3 adjustments that we're making before we allocate town and schools. So the unbalanced budget is the first item that we're addressing.
Melissa, I guess that my question is a little different. The $981,118 amount is from local revenues, is a total of additional local revenues. Why isn't the state aid included in that?
So I corrected the memo and you should have that in your packet. And that's part of one of the adjustments that I'm going to be making as we present a final vote. So the total allocation of revenue is actually $1.1 million. I'll have a final version in the vote ready for you with the budget table that shows all these adjustments as well.
Thank you. One of the problems of being a 1900s paper guy. You know?
I appreciate the extra set of eyes, Bernard.
It's all here.
I have a comment.
Okay, Miriam.
Thank you. I just want to say, Melissa, I read the memo and I found it extremely helpful, very clear, easy to follow, and I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
So maybe it's because of the hour. Have we addressed the unbalanced budget that town meeting left us with?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's part of what we're doing with the allocation of revenue. So right off the top, the first item that we're addressing is the unbalanced budget, and then the adjustments that flow after that are after we've identified the $147,000 that's needed to fund the sidewalk appropriation.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions or comments? We're not going to vote on this evening, right?
Correct.
It is a public hearing. Thank you. Glad somebody's not asleep at the wheel. Any members of the public that would like to speak on this very large budget that we have?
At this time, there are 15 virtual attendees and 1 in person. No one has used the hand raise or Q&A feature to indicate they'd like to make a comment.
Well, this will be the topic of much discussion at town meeting. Well, thank you very much, Melissa, for that memo and presentation. I will close the public hearing. Thank you. Okay, so we have, I think, only one warrant article that we may want to take up. Do we want to take up the golf course warrant article?
I do.
I'm ready.
I'm
Okay.
ready. Yeah.
I'm getting the sense that we were going to move no action. Is that
That's my sense.
okay?
Yep, mine too.
Any discussion about
I mean,
it?
just,
Miriam?
Yeah.
I'll just so you know, I'll be in the minority, but that's okay.
I apologize. I know it's 22 minutes past past 9, but there have been a number of comments that the golf course is mostly attracts people from outside Brookline. And if you had a commercial establishment in a community and you found that most of your business was coming from outside of town, you'd think, oh, I'm doing pretty well. It's actually a measure of success. And that outside business is what makes it possible to have golf on a very nice course for Brookline residents who want to use it. So if we cut the golf course in half and reduce that attractiveness, we will substantially impact the financial operations and our ability to serve the people from Brookline who currently use it.
There are, Miriam?
I just want to say that this warrant article is just about exploring the option of going down to 9 holes. And we heard at least one of the presenters tell us about another 9-hole golf course that does financially better than this one. So I guess I just flummoxed a little bit, because to me, this is just about asking the question, what if? And so if we were actually voting to go down to 9 holes, I'd say, no, there's absolutely not enough information here. This is a what if question that I support asking, what if? So I just feel like I need to make that point because it seems to be getting lost in translation.
So I'll try to address it. You know, I can feel myself growing more and more cynical the longer I serve on select board. And, you know, I've become a grumpy bear when it comes to town meeting members proposing select board committees to study this or study that. If you care about it, run for select board and do it. That's how I kind of feel about this warrant article. I get that it's being couched in, oh, it's just simply asking. Well, you should be asking the Parks and Rec Commission that has jurisdiction over this. You care about it, try to get on Parks and Rec, try to influence your Parks and Rec commissioners, because they are the ones tasked with doing just this. One, I do believe that part of the motivation, whether people mean to or not, golf is viewed as an elite sport. And so they want to target it. Now, I'm not a golfer. I have spent very little time on a golf course, but I understand that there are people in town that do value that. And there are plenty of other ways that we have carved up public space that I don't particularly take advantage of either. And just as I would defend a dog park or a playground, I will defend this enterprise funded golf course. I will leave it there. John?
Yeah, I just want to bring out something that might seem self-evident, but maybe not. I think one of the reasons that many of us are going to, sort of dig in on this and say, no, we don't need to have town meeting start pursuing a plan for maybe reducing the 18-hole golf course to a 9-hole golf course. The reason that we're really pushing back on that is because it opens the door on this notion that in order to have something that one group wants, they need to start by taking away something that a lot of people really, really value, and that is the experience of playing golf on an 18-hole golf course. And there's not even any argument about that last assertion. There are a lot of people who enjoy playing golf on an 18-hole golf course. It's also pretty much required for tournament golf, and it is of use for team golf. And I don't buy the idea that because there are people who have their heart set on something we don't yet have, that the way to get that thing we don't yet have is to start by taking away the 18-hole golf course from the people who enjoy the 18-hole golf course. I think we can figure out ways to pursue some of these other wanna-haves without basically going backwards on something that's been successful and of great enjoyment to a lot of golfers over many, many years. And I hope that message resonates with people who, might react to this by saying, well, we'll just have to try harder to fight to, change the 18-hole golf course to a 9-hole golf course. Well, no, maybe, you should think twice about whether you really have to go that route to get to some other goal in terms of a recreation activity.
Any other comments from select board members? So I will move no action on warrant article 39, the resolution regarding the study and use of the golf course. All those in favor of no action? Bernard?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Miriam?
No.
Mike?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. That is the conclusion of our agenda. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you, Bernard.
Seconded.
No, we're gonna have to get used to this.
Which?
Seconding motions and adjourning.
Well, the only motion we've seconded is the motion to adjourn.
Well, I start like a little bit.
I got enthusiastic.
Yeah. Thank you very much.